Welcome. Let's start by standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Seated. Warning. Can you hear me? If I leave it there, can you hear me? Yes, in the back, can you hear me? No. No. Yes, I got one no. I'll lean forward. Warning for the Town of Townsend 2019 annual meeting. The legal voters of the Town of Townsend are hereby notified and warned to meet at the Town Hall in Townsend, Vermont on Tuesday, March 5th, 2019 at 9 a.m. or so to act on the following articles. If there's no objections, I'll refrain from reading the warning. Thank you. I didn't want to do that. Good morning. Welcome to the Town of Town meeting. I have a bunch of stuff to go through just to begin with. I hope the last year has been good to you, and thank you for attending. A special welcome to those who have never been to town meeting before. It's quite an interesting event. My name is David Lebo. My privilege to serve as moderator for this year, and then further, if so elected, in Article 1. The role of the moderator is to explain any procedural questions, and please ask any clarifying questions before we vote. Robert's Rules of Order is the basic rules for the meeting. If you have the right to challenge any decision I make, if you feel it is improper. Voters should check in at the entrance and receive a ribbon to identify you as a legal voter of Townsend. Non-residents are not allowed to vote. They may participate in discussion with a 2/3 vote of approval. Please stand and state your name before you speak. Speak loud and clear, and there should be a microphone that's passed around for you. All motions and remarks should be addressed to the moderator. There should be no discussion between town residents. Articles must be moved and seconded and restated by the moderator before discussion begins. Articles may be amended and amendments amended once and then voted backwards. We'll get into that if we have to. Debate may be cut off with a 2/3 majority by calling the question. However, if you do not have the floor, you may not do that. You may speak once per motion until everybody else has had a chance to speak. Then you're allowed to speak twice per article unless the rules are suspended by 2/3 vote. No personal attacks, please, or I'll throw you out. During elections, I'll allow the person nominated to give a brief introduction if they would like. When voting by paper ballot, come up through the middle and exit up through the middle and exit out the sides. Turn off your cell phones and pagers. They are starting to work here. Leave your ribbons in the basket when you leave in order to save tax dollars. This meeting is recorded by Brattleboro Community Television. You can watch it later on cable channel 10. Put on your makeup, comb your hair, or online at brattleboro.tv.org. For anyone speaking at the meeting, please stand, state your name, speak directly into the microphone so that viewers in the room and at home can hear you. Thank you. Lunch will be provided by the 6th grade Townsend Elementary class. Donations will be accepted. That is going toward their 6th grade trip, and they're also selling t-shirts. They're really neat with Townsend, with a little heart on it on Townsend. That's also for the class trip. Introductions up front. We have the select board, Kathy Hagee, not in no special order. Kathy Hagee, Will Bissonette, Crystal Mansfield, Robert Wright, and Stephen Frisk. Justice of the Peace are in the back. Do you want me to tell you what papers are in the back, or you're all looked at it already? Papers in the back, town audit report information, West River Educational District annual report, Grace Cottage information, firehouse information, Woods, Wildlife, and Warbler fact sheets, Vermont Department of Taxes, Act 46 info. And that's all I got except for a happy birthday to Christine Angel. Happy birthday. If there are no other objections, I'll move to Article 1. Let's get that over before we have guest speaker here. So, Article 1, to choose the ensuing moderator for the year. I'll take nominations. Entertain nominations. David Lebo has been nominated. Are there any others? That was a question, no? Okay, hearing no other nominations. Where's my paper? I put it somewhere. You have it memorized. I don't have it memorized. If there are no objections and hearing no more nominations, I declare nominations closed and instruct the clerk to cast one ballot for David Lebo for moderator. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? I believe the ayes have it. Thank you very much. I am now the town moderator. Lucky me. Okay, now if there's no other objections, I'd like to suspend the meeting and allow non-resident to talk. We have Becca Balin is here and Emily Long, a representative and senator. Any objections? Hearing no objections, come on up front. You can have the microphone. Testing.
Good morning. So here we are. I am actually really fortunate today to have, excuse me, have Senator Balint with me. It's not always that we get to go to the same town meetings, but we're trying to do that today, so it's sort of a treat for all of us. Things have been maybe a little less hopping than you normally hear from me when I come here and I say, things are absolutely crazy up there. They haven't been quite so hopping this year. We've been taking on a slow process, moving forward with some pretty significant legislation this year. One of our things we're reviewing, which I'm sure is of interest to everybody here, which is Act 250. We're doing a complete review of Act 250. That began last summer with a lot of meetings around the state and a commission report that came out of those meetings. We're now looking at legislation in the House. The Senate will be having their turn at it soon enough. The Senate has started some legislation. We have started others. I'll let Becca speak about what's going on over there, but they did just pass min wage. She can talk about that. We also passed out of a committee that I now serve on, which is General Housing and Military Affairs Committee. I'm no longer on the Education Committee. We passed out a family medical leave insurance program. These are both two pieces of legislation that passed last year and were vetoed by the governor. So we are looking at that legislation again to see what we can do to focus on what is probably the most critical thing for all of us and for all of you, and that is how do we make Vermont work for all of us, not just for a select few of us. So we're looking at these from an economic perspective. We have taken quite a bit of testimony talking about this paid family medical leave insurance, showing that this really is an economic tool. This will help drive folks to Vermont. It will help support folks if they choose to move here and live here. And this is not just about children, people having children. This is also about taking care of family members when they're needed, or taking care of yourself when it's needed over time. So what we passed was 12 weeks paid. That's now in Ways and Means, and we'll see what they come out with. They will change it, I'm sure, fairly significantly. A couple other quick things before I hand it over to Becca. Childcare. Childcare is right at the top of our minds all the time. The affordability, the lack of access, especially in infant toddler programs, they're getting more scarce. Finding providers, finding early education staff is also really tough, so we're all taking a good hard look at that. And I'll turn it over to Becca now. I don't want to dig too deep into stuff she's going to dig into. So.
Good morning. I haven't been up to Townsend in a couple years for a town meeting. I try to get around to some of the other towns, but it's always a pleasure to travel with Emily Long. She's a very hardworking member of the House of Representatives. I wanted to talk about one of the things that really drove me to run for office and continues to drive me, and that is my worries about the rural economy here in Vermont. And when I say the rural economy, I'm really talking about the entire state outside of Chittenden County and part of Franklin County and a little part of Washington County. We are a rural state. And we are, as you know, facing demographic challenges. We're facing challenges with an older population and how we're going to replace workers. We have thousands of workers leaving the workforce every year and not enough workers coming up to replace them. And I serve on two committees that are looking really carefully at this issue. One is the Economic Development and Housing Committee, and my afternoon committee is the Finance Committee. And we're trying to look at this in some non-traditional ways. And one of the guideposts that we used was a recent report from the state auditor. So Doug Hoffer looked into a bunch of training programs and economic development programs in the state of Vermont and did a deep dive and said, what's working, what's not working? Are we using the money to the best of our ability to shore up our workforce and also our rural areas? And one of the things that he said is we should be investing more money in housing and in childcare, and something that is dear to my heart is trying to get broadband and fiber into our rural communities. And I know for some years there's been a struggle throughout the state in trying to get constituents to feel like this is an important issue for all Vermonters, the connectivity to the wider economic world. And I understand that it's been a hard sell for some communities to think about the investment into the connectivity initiatives because it increases costs locally. One of the things that we've been looking at in the Finance Committee is, can we partner with our electric utilities to have them string fiber for us to get connectivity to our rural towns? Because it's not just economics, it's also educational initiatives. So many of our kids need to be connected to the World Wide Web in order to be doing their homework and their research. So we're looking at some non-traditional ways to shore up our rural economies. I did a visit to Bradford, Vermont, a town much like Townsend. It's a small town, trying to figure out how do we retain our character, how do we maintain jobs for the people who live here now, and how do we attract people. There's a young person in Bradford in her 20s, and she went away to college and she came back home and she said, how am I going to help my town? I'm looking around waiting for those people to do the work to help my town. And she finally decided, oh, I guess that person is me. And she started a co-working space in downtown Bradford. It's called, I believe it's called The Spot on Main Street. And we visited there. We went out, my committee went out to Bradford a couple weeks ago to visit with her, and all of the people in her community are saying, we have got to figure out how to do this a different way, and we have to make it financially viable for our rural areas. So that is a strong focus of my work up there. And dovetailing off of what Emily Long said about the review of Act 250, one of the recommendations that came out of that committee was we have got to make it easier for developments in downtown village centers, in designated downtowns. But one of the things that's holding us back is that we do not have the infrastructure, the sewer, the water, the infrastructure that we need in order to have more housing in those areas. So we've been meeting with the treasurer to try to figure out some interesting finance possibilities for really investing into infrastructure. The federal government isn't going to do it for us. We've got to figure out how to make it work here in Vermont. So I'm happy, I think, to take questions if there's time. If not, we'll get off the stage. So,
A few questions? Yes?
Me? Yeah, okay. This has nothing to do with anything you've talked about. There's a bill up there that the carbon tax bill. I want to know, well, in case anybody doesn't know, it would add as much as 85 cents to the price of a gallon of gas, which is like $12.75 to fill a normal 15-gallon tank. And I just want to know if you guys support it.
it's not going to be taken up in either body this session. So I can say that there is no, there's been no initiative from either the Speaker of the House or the Pro Tem in the Senate to take up that bill. However, in thinking about how we get to our carbon goals, our carbon reduction goals, two ways in which we can invest targeted money to make a real big impact is in weatherization. And we're continuing to do that both with work in the Economic Development Committee work in partnership with the governor is setting aside money for the rehab of apartments that are energy sucks. So weatherization, we're also looking at investment from the treasurer's office in that same area. And of course, the other big one is transportation. But in terms of a carbon tax being taken up this session, it's not going to happen in either chamber.
One more question, quick.
If I could just follow up on that first. Becca and I are both on the leadership team, and she's on the Senate and I'm in the House. And it is something that, there are some legislators who really, we do care about climate change, and we do know there's an issue around this. But I will say that, especially for rural Vermont, it's a real challenge to overcome using a carbon tax. So we are backing up. Right, no, understood. But again, weatherization, I'm sitting on the General Housing and Military Affairs Committee. We talked a lot about weatherization, and I personally, and maybe Becca feels the same way, maybe it's not happening in your body as much as ours, but I'm concerned about us not putting enough money into weatherization. The question is, do we raise revenue to support those programs, or do we maintain them the way they are? And so we're still in the House looking at how we can do more supports for weatherization, because the payback on weatherization is immense.
Did you have a follow-up?
Well, the other one was the education tax. It's 75% of our property taxes. It's too high.
Right, and so, I actually don't think that there's ed funding change coming in this legislative year. I don't know whether it'll happen next year. But I will say what I always say when I come here, when we talk about funding for education. The tax rate is based on the budgets that we pass locally. So we're, at the legislative level, we do not set your education tax rate. We only set the rate that reflects what the votes are taking place in the local communities. So I think there's always a little misunderstanding about that. As if we set that rate, we vote on those locally, and then we set the rate based on what is spent locally. That being said, there's been a lot of discussion around how we can make those taxes more progressive. Part of the reason why you've been hearing for years the discussions around governance is because we need to make our school systems more efficient and more effective, better quality. So that has been driving that conversation. Can we do a better job? And we think we can, and we've been working toward that for many, many years. I don't know.
Well, I could talk about taxes for a long time because I've become somewhat of a tax geek, but I also see a hand in the back, but I'm happy to continue after this question in the back. That's, yes.
Concerning the weatherization program, my husband and I bought an old house at a good price, and one of the things that we were thinking was that we would qualify for weatherization to help fix this house because it's a fixer-upper. I think the guidelines are ridiculous for qualifying. I know people that have apartments who have, they're not even owned by the people that are getting the weatherization.
So
People that own the buildings are getting all of the benefits. If they hadn't qualified financially, they wouldn't.
Right.
And I think the program needs a little tweaking.
So I appreciate that feedback. So folks who couldn't hear the question, if I can paraphrase, it seems like there's a small section of the population that's able to qualify for the program, and it leaves out a lot of people that could really benefit from weatherizing their homes or apartments if they're a landlord. This is something that's come up repeatedly on the Senate side. I'm sure it has on the House too. It is a strong concern that we have because we have some of the oldest housing stock in the nation. And so it is not just folks at the lowest income, but all the way up to 120% of median income needs help to pay for weatherization. So we've been able to tweak within programs that we're working on with the governor about weatherization in terms of who would qualify. But you're absolutely right, we're aware of the problem and we're trying to figure out where can we get more homes essentially weatherized for the same amount of money. And so it is, let's continue afterwards, but this is an ongoing problem. There's a great need and not enough money in the system.
I just want, okay. This isn't really a question, it's just a quick.
There and then Irv.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, Moyer. This is just a quick putting a bug in people's ears for later. I'm partly here because I noticed that SEVCA, the Southeastern Vermont Community Action, is not being recommended to be funded this year, whereas historically it's received $1,500 towards things like the weatherization programs. So it'll be open to discussion later, I hope.
It's social. Yeah, that's the town. That's the town. That's social center. Herb,
It's
you
related.
had a question over here.
Yeah, on this new education thing, the way I understand it, that now the schools, they've changed over, that the state's gonna own, or the Department of Education's gonna own our school buildings.
No, the school buildings will be, are, even if they have merged, if districts have merged, they're still owned by that school district. So your school building in Townsend will have ownership throughout the school district, like Leland and Gray is owned by multiple school districts as well, owned. It's really the municipal, the municipalities that own, that are part of that school district that actually have ownership over that. The state is not taking over school districts or ownership of buildings, but there is the ability, as there always has been, to sell schools that may be closed, or you're merging two buildings and into one, that kind of thing. You can still make the decision, as you could before, to sell to your local school, local community.
Well, one thing why I question that, because we have the state forest here's got over 1,000 acres. We don't get crap for taxes. And we got 1,000 acres of federal land here. And then all of a sudden they're taking that and telling us what we're gonna do with it.
Yep, I hear you. Townsend is hit by an awful lot of properties that don't give you, I've met with the select board. I've met with the select board about this before. This is a significant issue for the town of Townsend because you have Grace Cottage Hospital, you've got other, and you do have the Townsend State Forest. So it does make it challenging for your community.
Also,
But
the Union High School.
right, being situated in the town of Townsend. Yeah.
And they got town land that they've got a lease on
Yep.
that we can't use.
Yep. Yep, so you're not receiving the property taxes for the town, I know. You're not the only town, but Townsend feels it more than some communities do, that's for sure.
If I go to state forest, I pay the same thing as somebody from Bradford or New Jersey or wherever to get in there.
You're right. But it's also a really important draw for the town of Townsend. I would say, people use the Townsend State Forest, and I'm really glad we have it here. So I'm sure you are as well.
But for the price of taxes we get out of it, it's nothing. Where it benefits everybody else.
Yeah, there's a payment in lieu of taxes.
So if I could just bring it back around briefly, which is one of the reasons why we are looking at how do we bring fiber connectivity to these towns, because we know from talking to many towns across the state that people are more likely to vacation somewhere, they're more likely to spend a summer somewhere if they know they can work remotely to their offices, whether it's down in Boston or New York. We see that with the people who are driving from the Norwich area all the way down to Bradford because it's faster connectivity down there. So this is another piece that we know that we have to tackle long term.
So I'll just say the House and the Senate are working really closely together on this issue. It is a priority for both of us.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
As a follow-up to Ernie's question, what's going on at the state level with Townshend Dam Reservoir? It's no longer usable as a swimming body or boating body. It's something that I know we've talked about for several years now, and our representatives in Washington have been working on it. What's happening at the state level?
So Becca's looking at me and I'm looking at her. Honestly, there isn't a lot that we can do ourselves, although we did bring it to the attention, both Becca and I got a hold of Representative Welch's office and brought them up here, you know that as well. I will say that it's an ongoing issue. There is we had it, because of the work we did on it, we did get more dredging done. That did help. But we also knew it was a Band-Aid. It is a continuing problem because honestly, it is not about the Townshend Dam proper. It is about the banks upstream putting silt into, and it's also part of the design of the dam where the water comes off the top instead of off the bottom, so the silt just builds up in Townshend Dam. You know, I'm glad you brought it up because honestly, it's been off my radar for a little bit, but I think I will see if I can find it. We lost our really tight connection to the Connecticut River Valley Flood Control Committee, who was Tim O'Connor was on that, and he passed away last year, unfortunately. I don't know who they replaced Tim with, but Tim was on that big time, and when we lost him, I lost my connection to it. So actually, I know the person who was just hired as the state director, and so do you, of Representative Welch's office, and she is very big on things like this. We need to get a hold of Rebecca Ellis and find out where we are on this. So thank you for bringing that up.
But it highlights for us one of the most challenging parts of our job is we often come up against local issues that are so crushing for our constituents, and our hands are tied because the decisions are being made at the federal level. But we will be continuing to be a fly in the ointment, and hopefully we can get some more attention from the federal delegation down here. That's the only way we're going to solve that problem.
Good question. Thank you. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for stopping by. What? She left the thing in the back.
It's a newsletter that I always leave here if you want, and that's got my contact information on it. You can get a hold of me if you don't know where to get a hold of her. I'll get you connected.
Okay, got all that?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, we have a runner for the microphone. So from now on, please try to speak in the microphone so they can hear you better. Thank you. Okay. Can you hear me? Moving on. Article 2. To act upon the July 1st, 2017 to June 30th, 2018 Independent Auditors Report. It's on pages 8 and 9, and also there's another sheet in the back if you'd like to see that. I will now entertain a motion. Moved by Kathy. Second? Second by Will. Discussion. Hearing no discussion. Wait. Oh, yes. Hearing no discussion. Well, what was the motion?
There is discussion.
Oh, there is discussion. I didn't see. Okay, sorry. I didn't see a thing. So the motion is to approve it, I assume? Okay, the motion is to approve the auditor's report. Yes, discussion.
In the motion, in the auditor's report, they talk about a couple things that they would like to see changed. And as a former auditor of Townshend, I'm particularly interested in the idea that someone other than the bookkeeper would be reconciling the checking account so that there's different people involved. And they also suggest that we have an assistant bookkeeper or somebody else who knows how to do it should that person become ill. Where are we on that?
First of all, it's taken 3 to 4 years to get the finances of the town of Townshend back into some kind of understandable, acceptable form, which we managed to accomplish this year, which this auditor's report does reflect, particularly if you grab the handout that's in the back. As far as the recommendations go, we're lucky to have one bookkeeper right now who is capable of doing all those different functions. Doing the reconciliations, keeping the books for the town. With the resignation and retirement of Mr. Hunt, we don't have any redundancy that we had in previous years with Craig providing those services. We're in the process of interviewing to replace Mr. Hunt, and are hopeful that we can cross-train whoever comes into that position to also take on some role in the finance department. But this is an ongoing, it's morphing as it goes, let's just put it that way. The issue we have with the bookkeeper performing a lot of the treasurer's functions is also, it's been morphed to something that is not recognizable, and it needs to be looked at in the future. I'll just leave it at that.
Further discussion? Yes,
The
sir.
microphone is not good.
Testing, testing, testing. You can hear me? You can hear it?
No,
Terrible?
maybe the battery's low or
It's awful. Say that all again.
Yeah, like I remember what it said. Again, Mr. Hunt has resigned. He's retired, and he used to do a lot of the bookkeeping functions, the redundancy. He was our backup for any time that the bookkeeper could not get something accomplished. Since he's retired, we are in the process of trying to hire a replacement for him, who will be hopefully cross-trained in the financial department to act as the backup, to act as the redundancy. As far as what is going on with the bookkeeper actually doing the reconciliation, right now that's the only person that we have that can do that. So if you choose to have someone else fill that role, then we're going to have to add additional money to the budget and hire someone to do it.
Yes, sir. Oh, microphone's coming.
I'm Charles Murray from West Townsend, and after reading that auditor's report, it seems to me we all should have some real concerns. It's pretty, I think, pretty damning what the auditor had. There are 2 or 3 material deficiencies, and 1 or 2 or 3, I think, significant deficiencies, which in accounting terms is serious. And it's not to blame anybody, but it's what can we do to rectify that moving forward? And it seems to me that we really have to, with much more speed, rather than just morphing it, we really have to move forward and hire somebody. Because we're just not following normal accounting practices at all right now. When you see that, again, not to blame anybody, but when you see expenses and income being posted on a balance sheet, that's significant. It's very, very basic. So I would just recommend that we really think much more quickly about setting the money aside and hiring somebody. And I hope we're not just looking at people in Townsend. I mean, let's find anybody who would be good at this.
The one thing that we do have that can be considered is the fact that a lot of this functions are also part of the treasurer's responsibility. And the treasurer has not been doing those portions of the bookkeeping. That's been left to a hired bookkeeper for the last multiple years since Mickey Wassong actually left. Perhaps it's time for that function to go back to the treasury as opposed to being the bookkeeper. But again, I think that's something that the voters need to decide is what they want to do, who they want to entrust with those particular functions. As far as they talk in the report that's in your town report about the segregation of duties and the fact that the people who are in fact entering information into the ledger are also the people that are taking the money to the bank, and there's no crossover. So again, this is a bigger philosophical question than just hiring somebody separate. Is this supposed to be a function of the treasury? Do we hire a bookkeeper and an auditor?
I mean, how do you want this to look?
What I'm hearing is you're asking us to recommend policy? Is that what I'm hearing? You're recommending that we recommend a policy? It seems to me that it would be better that you recommend a policy that we could decide whether to vote up or down.
We need your name, please.
Roger Chasitis.
We're not really asking you to set the policy. What we're saying is that in the past, we have separated the office of the treasurer from the bookkeeper's function. And the select board has been overseeing the bookkeeper's function since the resignation or since Mickey Wasson left. Now we're in a situation where we have a hired bookkeeper and we have a treasurer. They're saying that the duties are not being segregated appropriately. That's what they're saying in the auditor's report. Our question to you is, do we need to consider hiring someone into the treasurer's position, either hiring or electing, that can actually do that function and then have a bookkeeper as the redundancy? In other words, somebody separate that is doing the balance sheets and or looking at the reconciliation on the bank statements. The two-person system, the check and balance. We don't really have that right now, other than through the auditors.
I don't know, however, if now's the time to get your input on how our bookkeeping should work. That may be better at a select board meeting or during non-binding business.
Point of order?
Yes.
Are we supposed to be considering whether or not to accept?
Yes, you're
Talking about policy.
You're talking about whether or not to accept or not to accept the auditor's report, not to figure out how to run the auditor's department in Townsend. That's not what was warned. That's not what we should be. It's okay, we get in there a little bit, but I just don't want you guys, them to ask you and you to respond and get into this whole thing about how to run this. Yes, sir. Up front.
Jim Kowalski. It seems to me we could accept this report and the challenge that's faced, I'm sure, by many small communities to follow best practices, but to do it within budget. The auditors could be helpful, not just in citing where there may be deficiency, but to suggest what some other communities are doing. I'm sure everybody here is trying to do the right thing, but that has to be done practically and to the best of the town's ability to follow best practices.
Name, please? Jim Walsh. No, okay. We just wanted your name.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Any other discussion? Hearing no, seeing no other discussion, there's been a motion to approve the independent audit report from July 1st, 2017 to June 30th, 2018. A yes vote approves the auditor's report, a no vote defeats it. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. I believe the ayes have it. The ayes do have it. The motion passes. Article 3. To see what salaries the town will vote to pay its various officials for the ensuing year. Town clerk, $36,407 per year. Town treasurer, $2,342 per year. Select board, 1 chair at $900 a year. 4 members at $775 a year. And town clerk assistants and casual labor at $14.40 an hour. I will now entertain a motion.
I'd move to accept Article 3 as listed.
It's been moved and seconded. We'll use you as a second person.
That's fine.
Second.
Okay. Discussion. We'll go here. We'll go this. We'll go around that way.
Can you switch microphones?
Can I? Oh, this one's bad?
Yeah.
You can't hear me?
That's all I was going to ask you, was if we could swap. It's
I'm sorry.
very hard to understand.
I'm sorry. This is really better? Really? I hear it really great through that one. I don't even hear this one.
The battery's going dead or something.
Okay. Okay, we'll hang this one back and forth. We'll hang this one back. A little nervous here. So it's been moved and seconded for Article 3, all that stuff. Further discussion? Oh, wait, we're going over here. Discussion. Yes, Bernice.
Bernice Brooks. The town clerks, this year has gone up another $1,000. I would just like to know how many hours a week they work and just a little bit more information because do they have a work schedule? You know, who oversees the town clerk? Just the townspeople? Because the select board doesn't.
All I know is that it's a 2.8% increase. That's what I have on my paper.
Right, okay. But how many
The
hours?
town clerk is, the information I've received is the town clerk is overseen by the voters.
So how many hours a week are they open?
How many hours a week is the town clerk open? 30 to 80 is the... I don't have the information. I'm just here passing it along. 30 to 80.
Regular office hours.
Here every day of the week except Thursdays.
They're Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 5 from 9 to 4. And then, you know, very complicated, we're closed.
She's usually
Day
there
after
for today.
Thanksgiving, is that considered a holiday?
Yes. I'm just relaying information.
No,
Yes.
I'm just trying to figure out, because I know someone that was here, and they couldn't get in because it was closed. I'm just curious.
Very dramatic. Very dramatic. There was other hands up to the right of Bernice here, or my left, your right. Any other discussion? No? I thought there was, oh, yes, sir.
I just want to say, as a member of the Board of Listers, our town clerk works very hard for that money.
Further discussion? Yes, in the back.
If the town was interested in changing the treasurer to a full-time position as it was under Mickey, would this be the place to do it?
I don't think so, because it wasn't warned.
Okay.
That's a big change there.
Yeah, okay.
Right, yeah. I mean, you can change the numbers here.
You could change the number.
You can change the number, but even that, I don't know if I would change it allow it that big, because they would have to see that beforehand. If you go from 2,000 to 20, that's a little too much there. You know, changing a little bit is one thing, but, okay. Good question. That's yes, sir, in the back.
Richard Lucier. Also the town clerk, he takes in about...
I'll repeat it.
What's he charging for the work he does for people almost pays himself.
The work she does, she gets money for, say that again?
It almost pays her salary, what she takes in.
So the revenue she takes in almost pays for itself, almost.
I think he means fees.
Fees, right. The fees almost pay for themselves, right. Further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, it's been, do you want me to read it again? It's been moved and seconded to see what salaries the town will vote to pay its various officials this ensuing year. Town clerk 36,407, town treasurer 2342, select board 1 chair 900, 4 members 775, town clerk and assistants and casual label 1440. A yes vote passes the motion, a no vote defeats it. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes, I believe the ayes have it. The ayes do have it. Moving on, Article 3 passes. On to elections. Okay. Elections, Vermont law requires paper ballot for select board, listers, auditors, and then a couple others that we don't have. All other elections can come from the floor. A voter may ask for a paper ballot for a specific election if there's 2 people, which should happen anyway. A second is not needed for a nomination, and then no personal attacks. I'll allow people to give a brief introduction, and there'll be no other speaking to the nominee, maybe. And then, could the newly elected officers return when? Before lunch? Here, to sign, to get sworn in. Okay? So, Article 4, Roman numerals again. Article 4. I will now entertain nominations for a one-year term for town clerk, who's currently held by Anita Bean. Who's that? Who yelled? Oh, we don't need no? No, not for this. Oh, that's right, we don't need to because we don't need seconds. That's fine. Anita Bean's been nominated. Any other nominations? Gotta go to my paper. Hearing no other nominations, if there are no objection and hearing no more nominations, I declare the nominations closed and instruct the clerk to cast one ballot for Anita Bean for town clerk one-year term. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. I believe the ayes have it. The ayes do have it. I will now entertain nominations for a one-year term for town treasurer, currently held by Joe Daniel. Joe Daniel has been nominated. Hearing no other nominations? And if there's no objections, I declare the nominations closed and instruct the clerk to cast one ballot for Joe Dano for a one-year term of town treasurer. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. I believe the ayes have it. The ayes do have it. Select board. We got 3 positions, 1 3-year term, 1 and 2 1-year terms. I will now entertain nominations for the 3-year term, 1 3-year term, currently held by Will Bissonette, who's finishing 1 year of a previous 3-year term. Is that correct? Right? Okay. I'll now entertain nominations for the 3-year term. Bernice?
Nominate Will Bissonette.
Will's been nominated. Does he accept? Goodness. Okay. Any other nominations? Hearing no other nominations, and if there's no objections, I will instruct, see, I can't memorize that. I declare the nominations closed and instruct the clerk to cast one ballot for Will Bissonette for a 3-year term on the select board. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. I believe the ayes have it. The ayes do have it. Congratulations. Select board, 1-year term. We'll do Steve Frisk first. I'll entertain nominations for that 1-year term. Yes. Steve Frisk has been nominated. Any other nominations? Hearing no other nominations, and if there are no objections, I will instruct the clerk to cast one ballot for Steve Frisk for a 1-year term on the select board. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. I believe the ayes have it. The ayes do have it. Another select board position, 1-year term. I'll entertain nominations. This position right now is held by Crystal Mansfield. Crystal's been nominated. Any other nominations? Yes?
Nominate Dan Holt.
Dan Holt has been nominated.
He's not on the voter registration.
He's not on the voter checklist. A for effort.
He isn't?
Not a Townsend resident.
He's a resident.
I know. He lives here, just not. Okay. So, we still have Crystal. Any other nominations? Hearing no other nominations, and if there's no objections, I'll close the nominations and instruct the clerk to cast one ballot for Crystal Mansfield for a 1-year term on select board. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. I believe the ayes have it. The ayes do have it. We now have a 1-year term for Lister. But before I entertain nominations, this position is held by Mr. Richard Lucier, and we would like to say a few things. Can we get a microphone back there?
I'd like to thank Dick for his decades of service to the town of Townsend, both as a selectman and as a lister, and for being such a pleasure to work with. Thank you.
Lifelong civic duty. Thank you very much. Oh, you, yes, more.
So, Dick, it has been a pleasure working with you. You're a joy. You do have a temper, but you're still a joy. I did find out that there was something that was in this town hall that you really wanted. So after speaking with Kathy and making a few phone calls and some emails, I was able to secure this for you. So I'm going to give it to you right now.
What it is?
He can't see it yet. He's straining to look, but he can't see it yet. Thank you for your years of service. Okay, I'll now entertain motions for the one-year lister position. Three. I have a problem copying things over. Yes, 1 3-year position. Nominations? Yes?
Nominate Ellen Hall.
Who? Ellen Holt, not Dan Holt. Okay, let's just make sure. Okay, Ellen Holt has been nominated. Any other nominations? Hearing no other nominations, and if there are no objections, see, I forget this already. I declare nominations closed and instruct the clerk to cast one ballot for Ellen Holt for 1 3-year term on the listers. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Believe the ayes have it. The ayes do have it. Congratulations. And thank you again, Dick. Okay, delinquent tax collector. I will entertain motions for a 1-year term currently held by Becky Riley.
Becky Riley?
Becky Riley's been nominated. I saw her in the back there. Any other nominations? Hearing no other nominations, and if there are no objections, I close the nomination. I declare the nominations closed and instruct the clerk to cast one ballot for Becky Riley for a 1-year term as delinquent tax collector. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. I believe the ayes have it. The ayes do have it. First constable, 1-year term. I'll entertain nominations currently held by Warren Beatty.
Warren Beatty.
Warren Beatty's been nominated again. Don't cross him. Okay, hearing no other nominations, and if there are no objections, I declare the nominations closed and instruct the clerk to cast one ballot for Warren Beatty for first constable 1-year term. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. I believe the ayes have it. The ayes do have it. Second constable, I'll entertain nominations for a 1-year term currently held by Mike Cutts.
Mike Cutts.
Mike Cutts, he's not here though. I saw a wife. He okay? She says it's good? Okay. Gets him out of the house anyway. Any other nominations? Second constable. Hearing no other nominations, and if there is no objection, I declare the nominations closed and instruct the clerk to cast one ballot for Mike Cutts, 1-year term, second constable. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. I believe the ayes have it. The ayes do have it. Town grand juror. I'll now entertain nominations for a 1-year term held currently by Margaret Bills.
Margaret Bills.
Margaret Bills? Okay. Okay. Any other nominations? Hearing no other nominations, and if there's no objections, I declare the nominations closed and instruct the clerk to cast one ballot for Margaret Bills for a 1-year term as town grand juror. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. I believe the ayes have it. Town agent. I'll now entertain nominations for a 1-year term currently held by Carol Mellis.
Nominate Carol Mellis.
Okay. She's not here though, right? No? Okay. We can vote her in. If she says no afterwards, then I think it goes to the select board to appoint somebody. So that's fine. Carol Mellis has been nominated. Any other nominations? Hearing no other nominations, and if there's no objections, I declare the nominations closed and instruct the clerk to cast one ballot for Carol Mellis, one-year term as town agent. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. I believe the ayes have it. Library trustees. I will now entertain motions for one 5-year term as a library trustee. This position is currently held by Ann Albee.
I nominate Judy Slowick.
Judy.
And we'd like to thank Ann for all of her years and her lovely thank you notes.
Slowick. Thank you, Ann, for all the years. 5 years is a long time, so. I know you did it multiple times, but that's a long term. What was the last name? Judy Slowick? Slowick. Okay, Slowick. Okay, any other nominations? Think of all the books you could read. No? Okay, hearing no other nominations, and if there's no objections, I declare the nominations closed and instruct the clerk to cast one ballot for Judy Slowick for a 5-year term as a library trustee. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. I believe the ayes have it. The ayes do have it. Cemetery Commissioner. I will now entertain nominations for a 5-year term as a Cemetery Commissioner. This position is currently held by Bruce Bills.
Nominate Bruce Bills.
Wow, stereo. Great job. Bruce Bills has been nominated. Where'd he go? I saw him earlier. There he is. You good? You're staying? You were on it when I was on it. That was 10 years, 15, 20 years ago. Holy cow. Why'd I leave? Any other nominations? Hearing no other nominations, and if there's no objections, I declare the nominations closed and instruct the clerk to cast one ballot for Bruce Bills as a Cemetery Commissioner for 5 years. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. I believe the ayes have it. The ayes do have it. That must have been the quickest elections I think we've ever had. That was good job. Good job. Okay, moving on. Article 5, to see if the town will authorize the selectmen to set tax rates sufficient to cover all monies raised for municipal entities for the period July 1st, 2019 through June 30th, 2020, and to borrow money in anticipation of taxes. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
You got Cook? You got plenty of people to choose from. Okay. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, it's been moved and seconded to see if the town will authorize the selectmen to set tax rates sufficient to cover all monies raised for municipal entities for the period July 1st, 2019 through June 30th, 2020, and to borrow money in anticipation of taxes. A yes vote passes the motion. A no vote defeats the motion. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? No. I believe the ayes have it. The ayes do have it. I talk fast. If you need me to slow down, please tell me to slow down and ask questions. Okay? But that was very fast. Okay, Article 6. To see if the town will authorize its property tax collector to receive its real property taxes quarterly, August 30, 2019, November 22nd, 2019, February 28th, 2020, May 29th, 2020. Monthly interest will be charged at the rate of 0.5% or fraction thereof. Interest of 1% or fraction thereof plus penalties will commence on May 30th, 2020. Entertain a motion.
So moved. Second.
Discussion? They're all on Fridays, by the way. So pay your taxes on Friday. Okay, hearing no other, oh, yes, sir.
If I'm not mistaken, the revenues are on page 10, is that correct?
Revenues were... Yeah, this is dates.
And that's what we're basically voting on now?
No, this is to when we're going to collect the taxes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
This is just to see if the town will authorize the property collector to receive the taxes. Any other discussion? Hearing no other discussion, it's been moved and seconded. I'm not going to read it again, please. Got it? Good? Moved and seconded to see if the town will authorize its property tax collectors on those dates. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. I believe the ayes have it. The ayes do have it. Article 4 passes. Article 6, Roman numerals. Article 7, to see if town will vote to appropriate $536,360 to pay for the running and expenses and liabilities of the town, of which $399,254 is to be raised in taxes. I'll take a,
So moved. Second.
That's on page 10 through 12. Yes, sir. Now page 10. You have the floor.
Squared away. Now, I just am curious. Our actual taxes collected, collected, it appears, if I'm reading this right, we're 485,000 roughly. And what we're proposing now is 399. And I'm just curious what the difference is all about. Are we collecting enough? See, under 2018, the actual collected was the 485, and what we're proposing now is the 399. It's almost $100,000.
Right, but you skipped a year in between. You're looking at the actuals for 2018, okay?
Right.
We're currently in 19, so we're raising $412,427 in taxes this year, and we're proposing $399 for next year. So it's either a surplus that's been added in, or it is in fact just a reduction in the amount of taxes collected.
So in other words, we spent 485 in 2018, correct?
That is correct.
And
No, they didn't spend. That's what they collected.
I'm sorry?
That's what they collected. They didn't, not necessarily, that's what they spent.
That's right. Excuse me, yes.
They collected more.
Okay, okay. All right.
Surplus.
Okay.
Further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, it's been moved and seconded to see if the town will vote to appropriate $536,360 to pay for the running expenses and liabilities of the town, of which $399,254 is to be raised by taxes. A yes vote passes the motion, a no vote defeats the motion. Any questions? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. I believe the ayes have it. The motion passes. Article 8, to see if the town will vote to appropriate $544,675 for the running expenses and liabilities of maintaining the town roads, of which $431,675 is to be raised in taxes. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second? Second. Who said? I didn't say. Yeah. Then, that's page 13 to 14. I wanted to say that. Page 13 to 14, just so you knew that. Okay, discussion. In the back, and we're coming up front. Oh, go do her first. Do her first. You're there. That's fine.
Hey, this highway business, they've got money for blacktop, and I understand it's for the parking lot, for the library. Now, that's not a true budget. It's nothing to do with the highway. That pavement that they're gonna use has nothing to do with the highway. It's not showing a true budget of the library or anything else. If they wanna do the library, then they should have put a special article in to do the library. That's not part of the highway program.
Further discussion? There's somebody in the way.
I'm sure folks are not gonna like this, but
so be it. I'm just wondering why there's a $50,000 increase in salaries for the highway department, and yet you go to put your recycling away, and there's not, snow isn't shoveled and sand isn't down, and you're taking your life in your hands. It's like, I'm not quite understanding what's going on.
The increase in salaries for the highway department is because we went from 3 to 4 employees at the highway department. And your remarks about the recycling area not being cleaned, we do pull the dumpsters out after a snowstorm, we do plow it, and we do sand it. And around Arnold's area is also cleaned up.
But it's not. I would say it's like, I've gone in there and it hasn't been up and it's all ice. So obviously it's not being done.
Was it done when the hours of operation were open?
Hang on, we're talking about the budget, and yet we're complaining about individual things. That should be brought to the select board meeting, in my opinion, or pick up the phone and call the road commissioner, superintendent. Discussing specific things about the road, we're talking about the budget, and that is very important, I do agree, but to have the road commissioner, superintendent, whatever it's called now, answer questions about specific problems, I don't know is germane or appropriate right now. That should be at the select board meeting or pick up the phone and call. Okay, that's all. But it's a good point. I don't disagree with that. I just don't know if it's appropriate for him to be responding to individual complaints of people about the road today. Okay. Any other discussion about the budget? Yes, we'll go. Wait, where are you going? You're going that way? Fine.
Hi, I'm Marilee Atley, one of the library trustees, and I just wanted to mention that we did talk to Town Hall about whose responsibility it was to pave the library parking lot, and we're sure that it was the town responsibility. I'm sorry if we didn't do the right thing. That's the information that we had, was that it was the purview of the town.
You gotta come all, look, right there, and then come all the way back around here. I've got hands on this side.
Chad Greenwood, can somebody clarify why we went to a fourth employee?
The highway department. Oh, sorry.
Oh, you.
This is not working. Okay, basically when the previous road crew left, we had a discussion about the fact that we needed somebody to take on the administrative pieces of the highway department. That means filing state paperwork, that means doing grants, that means just the communication with the state, chasing down information that's needed. We had 2 years, I believe it was ago, put an ad in the paper for a supervisor for the department to take on that administrative function. We had no response whatsoever from that ad. So when we found ourselves in a position of having nobody in the highway, we took it as a sign that now was the time to make that change. And so we did add the fourth person. And now in hindsight, with the resignation of Mr. Hunt, who was doing a lot of the administrative function for the highway, he was closing out grants, he was filing state paperwork, etc., that those responsibilities now will fall over to that fourth person in the highway department.
You're still going to replace his position. Correct, honest, you're still replacing his position, so it won't be a permanent thing that fourth person needs to do.
I think it will, because I don't envision this person replacing Craig as a select board assistant. I don't see them doing the highway function, doing the grant closeouts. There was a total disconnect between having the town hall trying to file grant paperwork for the state and or answering specific questions for the highways when that person was not involved out in the highway department. Having the administrative function reside with the highway is much more efficient than trying to relay the information back and forth between the two.
Okay. Going over here, yes.
Dale West. I have a question on that fact that you're talking about grant monies and stuff. And I happened to look at the budget, and there was no special projects in which I work in highway maintenance and I understand the pros and cons of maintaining roads, that there's obviously projects out there that need to be done. And if we do not put any money in special projects, then you won't have any matches for your grants, and stuff like that. And obviously I looked into reserve funds, and there isn't, that was used up probably with the last paving projects. So, I'm concerned that we're not thinking of maintaining areas that need to be taken care of and then fixing Band-Aids and stuff like that, where we should be probably just starting to schedule projects. I understand we have a new regime and that it might take a little while to get that going, but there's projects that still weren't done when I was on the board in 2012 and 13 that obviously are some safety concerns to mine, and I feel that we should put some money into that. So I'd like to make an amendment of $40,000 to be put in special projects.
Okay, there's been an amendment made to add $40,000 for special projects. Is that how you want to word it? Okay. Is there a second to that motion, that amendment? Before we can go any further, is there a second? No, okay. Hearing no second.
Where would they pay for the grant monies to do those?
No second? Hearing no second, there is no amendment. Oh,
Yeah, I agree.
you're a second?
Yeah.
Name?
Kevin wants.
Okay. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. The amendment is on the floor. Discussion. $40,000 for special projects.
Joanna Snelling. Is the $70,900 all gone?
Well, we're talking about $40,000 for the special project. We have to dispense of the
Right.
amendment first.
No, but.
Oh, I'm sorry.
but in order to understand whether we need another 40,000,
Okay.
I wanted to know if the 70,000 from before, is that all gone? Am I not, maybe I'm not understanding.
Wait, give us page, give us direction where you're
On page
looking.
13 in actual 2018, and
Page
it's got
13.
special project funds to reserve, 70,900.
That was in 2018.
And did that go in a reserve, and is that all gone, is my question.
That was set aside to do some additional crushing because of the new state requirements. To my knowledge, that has not been completely used because they didn't finish the crushing, so there still should be funds. I don't have a current printout as to where we are right now on that particular fund, so I can't answer that specifically.
Go to page 15, you'll see reserve fund 0 as of 6/30/18.
But I believe that for 18 was the reserve that was set aside for the replacement of the bridge on Bridge 42, I believe it was. I don't believe that 70 was part of it, that was added in addition.
Go.
Any money is put in reserve, unless it's put into the budget so it's re-voted, it cannot be spent on anything but what it was reserved for.
Yeah, okay, well, we're getting confused here. Did you have something to say? Okay, yes, we're going sideways here. So, there's an amendment on the floor to add $40,000 to the main motion. There was a question of whether or not there was any reserve left from previous years, and the answer is we weren't sure. There may be a little, but we're not 100% sure because the money was spent on whatever it was supposed to be spent on back in 18, right? Okay. You're pointing over there.
You got
Oh, okay. I'm trying to, before we keep going, I just want to make sure you understand, because I don't know if I understand. Okay. You guys good up here? Okay, go ahead, Jed.
So I'd like to amend the amendment.
You can?
I'd like to put 52,000 into the retreatment and take it away from the wages. The highway department.
Whoa. Say it again?
Basically, I want to have the road foreman do what they used to do, and the administrative assistant continue doing what Craig's done, do away with the foreman.
Okay, you're not amending the amendment, though. You're coming up with something totally different, which is okay. Let's dispense of this one, pro or con, and then we can go back and re-amend. But that's a totally different, and we'll come back to you. Just yell at me before we vote. We're still talking about adding $40,000 for special projects. Irv's point was that you can't just say special projects, you have to earmark it specifically. And is that true? This is a lawyer question, I'm not sure of this. Once it's in reserve, you have to know where it's going? By law. Okay, so we can't necessarily do this by law?
I put it in actual project line
Special project, what? Line item. Okay, and that's okay. Okay, that you can do. Okay, any more discussion about adding $40,000 to the road maintenance as a line item for special projects? Yes, sir.
Where's the money coming from?
Taxpayers. You.
So this is a motion to raise taxes by 40,000.
Yes, sir. So his statement was, this is a motion to raise taxes by $40,000. The answer to that question is yes, because there wasn't any microphone. Yes.
Clarifying question, because last year we didn't vote for it, but then we had 70,000, so where did that come from?
That was 2 years ago we voted for it, not last year. It would be 2 years ago.
Last year
It says voted 0.
Yeah, last year we voted none.
Actual spent.
Right. Okay, ask that again.
So, yes, last year in 2018, it says we voted for 0, but actually we spent 70,000, or we approved 70,900? So where did,
No.
we did vote for it. I'm new, so I just
Yeah,
wondered.
well, because the actual 18 was voted for in 17. I mean, the voted for in 17, 18 was 17. So you're actually talking. Right.
Yeah.
So last year we wouldn't have voted for the 70, it would be the year before.
So last year we voted for
0. Last year we voted for 0.
Yeah.
But when we spent the 70, you voted for the year before. Yeah, just, you gotta go back. You gotta go back.
Could have been a continuation of a project which was a 2-year term.
It could have been a continuation as well if it continued and the money dragged over, but it wasn't voted for when you see it in there. Does that make sense? Yes, sir.
So at this point, you won't be able to have any special projects funded for until 2021 because you won't have put any money aside for it and you don't foresee it at this point. Any special projects that need attention.
Right now, I believe there is a request out to do the engineering study on Bridge 42, which the town could do the matching funds for the engineering study without any difficulty, without actually putting the money in there. When we come to replace the bridge, then yes, we will have to put money in for the special projects.
Further discussion on the amendment.
Andy Snelling, I just want to clarify that we're looking at putting money into the special projects, but we also, on the paving aspect, which sometimes could be a special project, we've gone from 80,000 to 25,000, which I understand is only to be used for the library. So we wouldn't have any paving funds in this budget without adding to the special projects. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. Answer from the select board. Further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, there is an amendment on the floor. I don't know how we're going to add it to the main motion, but we'll get there in a minute. The amendment is to add $40,000 as a line item for special projects. Does that make sense? Does that work, the way I said that? Okay. An amendment to add $40,000 as a line item for special highway projects. Highway projects. Say highway projects. Highway projects. Okay, does that work for you back there? Yeah, what I said? You're not even listening. Yeah, good? Okay. Okay, so a yes vote will pass the motion, will pass the amendment. So a yes vote says yes to adding $40,000, and a no vote defeats the amendment. This has nothing to do with the main motion. We'll continue to talk about the main motion afterwards. So yes vote passes the amendment, no vote defeats the amendment. Everybody understand? Okay. All those in favor of adding $40,000 as a line item for highway projects, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. No. I believe the noes have it.
Reconsider for
Not reconsider, but first divide the house. I was waiting for somebody to say something. Okay, that's why I was delayed. So I just wanted, it was close. So let's divide the house. By dividing the house, that's the first step before we do a paper ballot, is just a raise of hands. So all those in favor of adding $40,000 as a line item to the highway department funds, raise your hand. All those in favor. I'm not going to count first. Let's just see if it's obvious. Okay, hands down. All those against, hands up. I believe the noes have it. The amendment is defeated. Thank you very much. Now we're back to the main motion, which is to see if the town will vote to appraise 544,675, of which 43165 is to be raised in taxes. Was there any further discussion on it? And there was an amendment that somebody else wanted to make. No? Yes? You're going to make an amendment?
Yes.
Okay. What was it again? I didn't write it down before.
I guess I got one question first.
Yeah, you can.
Select board, tell me the added cost for the fourth employee, benefits and salary.
What was the question? I didn't even hear.
Added cost.
Oh, added cost for the fourth employee?
Even a ballpark.
They're crunching numbers.
Another thing that this fourth person, Chad, is doing is, we used to hire out the snow blowing. Now the fourth person is taking care of that, as well as mowing the lawns and stuff like that was all hired out. That'll be taken over by the fourth person. And to add to that, in the past, we've had a problem with getting flaggers when we want flaggers the day that we need them. So far, we've sent 2 out of the 4 to flagging class, so they're certified to do the flagging. It's $27.50 an hour to hire flagging, and they get travel time. So that'll be 3 different situations that were hired out that are now going to be taken care of in-house. And we also, at times, had hired in a fourth person to do plowing too. So that person will be on full-time. So there's a few of the things that we're kind of eliminating and going to take care of it as town people. So.
Number-ish.
Can I say something? Or
Can you?
in regards to the comment?
Yes.
The fourth person for sidewalk clearing and lawn mowing and the other stuff, we pay casual labor for $14 an hour. This year they got raised $14.50. And they don't require benefits. The same with your flaggers. I mean, you take $50,000 divided by $27 an hour, that's a ton of flagging. I mean, we didn't spend a lot on general maintenance of mowing of the common, mowing of the Taft Meadows over there, and then as far as the sidewalks, and it was always done pretty stellar. So well, the sidewalks are clean. This year we're having a battle, and I get people are trying to understand, what they need to do. And we're not there to accuse people of, their jobs. Just kind of stating a fact, casual labor is cheaper than paying somebody a retirement package plus health insurance. If that's what you're basing your ground on.
Well, I was just throwing some facts out.
Yeah, well, That's for you all.
So rough number wise, and this does not include the retirement because I'm not certain exactly what that is this year, seems to be in the range of about 42 to 43. That would be packaged with the benefits for the fourth.
Okay, answer that question. Do you want?
I'd like to make an amendment.
Okay, wait. You definitely need a microphone now, because I gotta hear it, so I understand. There you go. It's right behind you.
I'd like to add 50,000 to the retreatment fund and reduce the wage fund by 44,000.
You want to add 50,000 to the what? I didn't hear it.
Retreatment fund.
Retreatment?
Payment.
Can't do that?
I'm not certain that you can do that. I'm not certain you can dictate exactly what lines you can appropriate money for and take money away from. You could add or subtract from the budget, but I don't think you can actually dictate where that money comes from.
I don't know for certain.
Right. Changing around line items and moving stuff is, that's up to the select board.
I don't understand if he wants to get rid of that fourth person by taking that money and putting it into retreating, but
Wait, say it again.
I don't know if he wants to get rid of that fourth person by putting that money into retreatment to do away with their salary. But when I was road foreman here, it was always a team of two and a team of one. You have to really have 4 people, 2 teams of 2 to get anything done in a fashionable amount of time. I always try to get a fourth person, can never get one. But now they're going to get one. I think it's a great thing to have the 4th person on the town crew instead of just 3 people. And as far as putting money into retreatment, it'd be a great thing because they probably should have put money in retreatment, but too late now. But I would say keep that 4th person on the road crew.
Thank you. In the back.
Well, I know that $10,000 or $15,000 looked at in the whole picture, it doesn't seem like much. But if this person is doing the hired services, why is there still $10,000 or $15,000 earmarked for hired services? Why isn't that just eliminated because it's included in the salary of the person?
Okay, hired services are not specifically for doing functions of the road crew. That would be things like taking down dead trees. That would be for other issues. We just took down a huge tree down at one of the cemeteries because we needed a crane to take it down. Those are things the road crew cannot do. So that money is in the budget to be able to take care of issues that we cannot take care of in-house.
Any further discussion? We're still on the main motion.
So I'd still like to read the amendment.
Okay.
By 50,000.
I'm sorry.
The amendment.
Well, no. Oh, I thought they said that you couldn't move the money around. That wasn't.
I'm not telling you.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. What's the? It's really hard to hear you from up here. That's why we have the microphone, and I'm trying to exactly get right. That's what I'm trying to. I just want to hear the words exactly.
I want to reduce the 431,675 raised by taxes by 50,000.
Okay, so just straight up, reduce it by 50.
Select board can decide.
Okay, so now there's an amendment. My calculator. You want the exact numbers? I'll get you the exact numbers in a minute. So it would be 49,4,675. Right, 544? No, it's 5. It would be 4,94, right? 494. Okay, so if we deduct that 50,000, we'd be voting on a number 494,675. Okay, now we're here to discuss. Is there a second to that amendment before we move any further? Is there a second to the amendment to reduce the overall highway budget by $50,000? Second? Irv's got a second over there. Okay. So we moved and seconded. So let's discuss. That's okay.
I just don't understand how we discussed in the past the administrative assistant salary, but we can't the highway. I'm not understanding.
Well, the administrative assistant salary is voted on over here. What? Oh,
Part of the budget.
Okay.
We discussed it in the past, raised it and decreased it. So what's the difference between that and the highway budget? Wait.
I don't believe the town, I don't want to get into words. I'm just a moderator. Yes.
I've always been under the impression that we vote on a budget, so we approve an amount, and we don't get to choose where that amount, how they spend it. So they tell us this is what their plan is, but we really don't get to pick different, how they want to spend it. They just get this amount of money, and that's all we get to really vote on.
The select board only has as much latitude as the voters will allow them, suggesting that the voters can give line item by item guidance to the select board that they must follow. However, there is no statute associated with the spending of municipal funds that applies to the select board as there is for school boards. Okay, so you can guide them, but they can move money around as necessary to run the town within reason. I'm just reading what's from Vermont Moderator Handbook about the difference between the select board and the school board as it comes to money. Some hold the view that the voter-approved budget is simply a plan for municipal spending, being responsible for the general supervision of town affairs, 24 VSA 33872. The select board's political accountability to the voters is probably the thing that will guide the given select board as they execute their responsibilities. So we can give them guidance, but they're allowed to move money. School board is much more strict when it comes to that. Is that true, school board people, right? You don't know? In certain areas. In certain areas, okay. Okay, so we're still discussing whether or not $50,000 to be reduced from the budget. Discussion? Yes, sir. Name?
I realize there's probably a learning curve.
Name?
Timothy Lynch.
Timothy Lynch. Yes.
I realize there's probably a learning curve, but from what I've seen so far, my road was far better maintained when it was Kurt and the old crew as opposed to the new 4.
Okay. Any further discussion? Yes.
Just from a paperwork point of view, Chris Cook, just from a paperwork point of view, I think it's a wonderful idea to have somebody in the road crew building doing paperwork rather than trying to have it done in town hall. Been there, done that.
Further discussion on the amendment? Yes.
Jim Kowalski. I think $50,000 is a lot of money, but it's also a reduction of the budget if this amendment passes by 10%. And I trust the select board to manage these funds, and it would concern me to reduce the budget so significantly when we don't have the details, at least I don't, to know that that would be wise.
Further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, there's an amendment on the floor to reduce the overall budget of the maintaining of town roads by $50,000. A yes vote will pass the amendment and reduce the budget by $50,000. A no vote will defeat the amendment. Questions? No questions. All those in favor of the amendment, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. No. I believe the noes have it. The amendment has been defeated. Further discussion on the main motion. Yes, sir.
I just have a question. Do they plan on repaving Windham Hill Road this season?
Again, specific question, do you just want to answer that? Repaving Windham Hill Road? It's going to need more than an overlay. I know that it's
It's
fall.
gonna need a reclaim.
I know it's falling into the crevasse on the other side there, so it's going to need more than that.
Yes.
Plans? No? Okay. Something else.
I'm going to take another road.
There you go. Further discussion. Yes, sir.
Last thing.
Yes, sir.
What changed so dramatically from years past to this year that for years you've been after a fourth guy, couldn't supply it? You micromanage the town highway, and now all of a sudden there's a total change. You know, now there's a fourth guy, new equipment, no questions, no nickel diamond by your assistant. It just seems strange. Disappointing.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, there's a motion on the floor to see if the town will vote to appropriate $544,675 for the running expenses and liabilities of maintaining the town roads, of which $431,675 is to be raised in taxes. A yes vote passes the motion, a no vote defeats the motion. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no? I believe the ayes have it. The ayes do have it. Pass. Do you want me to play with that one? Article 9. To see if the town will vote to raise $170,000 by taxation to be used toward the purchase of a new highway department truck. The equipment list is on page 14, just so you know. I will now entertain a motion. Will? Second? Second. Discussion.
Where's the microphone?
Turn around. Right there. Stop.
I thought we voted for a truck last year. No?
Thought we voted for a truck last year was her
Or
question.
a year before? It just seems like very familiar.
Year before. Oh. Good, good. Over here with the microphone.
I'd just like to ask some ideas of details, please. What rig are we replacing and stuff like that, and what are we replacing, and some clarity on this would be very well appreciated.
Good question.
Is this mic working okay? Yes. So the vehicle we are looking to replace is T9, which is International, 2012 International. We're looking to replace it with a Western Star tandem axle truck.
Answer the question? Did that answer the question? That was good? Okay. Further discussion? Heard. Speak loud.
Boy, the longest run you've got is 8 miles. And you've got hills. You go to Grafton and you ride them roads and you don't have hills like this. I know they got a tank. But they also have to truck their gravel in. They don't have a pit. You talk to some of these other towns like Westminster. They don't have no hills. It's pretty well level. You get into the hills of them, you're going to run into problems. And then 8 miles, why you need a tandem like, if you got your own pit right here, 8 miles is the longest run. Stay away from the town garage, we're saying. Now why do you need the tandem?
The tandem certainly has a larger capacity for hauling material. I know.
Yeah, but your roads are posted for 24,000.
I understand that, but
Our single axles are over that anyway.
I know that, but I say that.
But it's, you know, a tandem with 2 axles on the back and lesser footprint than a single axle.
Hey, I've been there.
We're not supposed to discuss among the townspeople. I know, and it's great to hear. I love to see you guys talking. I just, there's a whole town here that wants to be involved too, that's all. That's all. Okay, so keep explaining on why we need the tandem. Sorry, they interrupted you.
Well, I actually was going to refer to Kurt, because I believe Kurt is running a tandem axle in Windham, and I would like his opinion. I've spoke with multiple towns in the area, some with hills and some without, and just the amount of trips we would reduce on the West Townsend run. Roads would be treated quicker on the West Townsend run, and on the financial side of it, the upfront cost for the truck is an additional $20,000 for the cabin chassis. The plow and the wing are the same. The dump body, being slightly larger, is about another $5,000 in cost. Today, when we trade in a single axle truck, the value is approximately $20,000. There's no demand for them in today's market. When you trade in a tandem axle dump truck with the same amount of miles, same amount of hours on it, that trade-in value is anywhere between $40,000 and $60,000 when you trade that truck in. And so again, I go back to Kurt, if you could help with any of those questions.
Yes, I was a proponent for getting a tandem. I even had letters from other road foremen saying how good they are and how much more efficient. And I do run a tandem in Windham, and I hate to say it, but I'm all for a tandem. Less tire wear, less chain wear, because you're going half to a third of the loads with a tandem as you are with a single axle truck. I had no problem up in Windham. They do get more snow. They don't have as many hills, but they do have hills in Windham, and they have some steep hills also. So it's almost apples to apples. I don't have a Townshend acres up there, but I would be all for a tandem. And the end game is where we should be looking at, besides right now purchasing it. Because in the middle, we're going to save money, and the end game, we're going to save money. If we did adopt a capital equipment replacement schedule, these trucks should have been on that, because selling a truck with a warranty and a tandem, you're going to get your money back almost in twofold, because it's a much more desirable truck to buy for a private contractor. So I would say go with the tandem and make it your West Townsend route. I know what Urban's saying, our pit is in town, and now you got 3 guys to haul gravel, but when it was just 2 of us, or 3 of us, the guy sitting there with a grader, waiting for material to be spread, kind of was a long day. Well, we have 3 now, but I was addressing Urban's concern. But I think a tandem would be the way to go for the town of Townsend. And I only want to run 1 set of chains on it, and I do half the loads as the other truck. So it's easier on the truck itself. Our trucks are, we're weighing probably 52,000 pounds. We're loaded with a wing on and front plow, and they're just a single axle truck. We are overloaded, almost empty. So a tandem is built much more stout for that job.
So it's you guys that are making our roads bumpy by going over on nice heavy trucks?
A single axle.
How come then, if these tandems are so great, East Jamaica, the state's got roads that are less pitch on them than these have, and they're not running them?
I have no idea. That's the thing.
That's right.
But the state does have a lot more tandems now. I know I'm talking earlier.
I was getting there. It's just fun watching you guys bicker. Okay. Yes, sir.
Ken Hoffman, that $170,000, do we have to pay that one lump sum this year?
We haven't even begun to look at potential financing. I know we have the potential to borrow from the municipal fund, so no, we don't have to raise it all this year. And we're actually in a very good financial position right now, because the last truck that we had a loan on, it will be paid off this fiscal year. So the possibility is that no, we'll take a loan on it.
Well, the reason I ask you, I know it's like in our local here with the fire department, they set money aside every year, a little bit at a time before they get enough money to buy the vehicle. But that's not the case with this truck we're talking about right now.
No, with the dump trucks, The dump trucks are on a frequent enough cycle that you would have to put a substantial amount up front to build the fund to be able to do like they do with the fire department, to be able to pull out of it. And I don't know what they're looking at in the cost for their new fire truck. Can somebody give me a number back there? Glenn? Well, just to give them a rough idea.
Glenn Beatty, Townshend Chief. I can give you two costs for a truck.
Yeah, just around why we put aside that 10 every year for the pumper.
I'm sorry, what's that?
She's trying to compare why we do the fire truck pumper fund every year. How much does a fire truck cost? Throw out a number.
I'm going to give you two numbers.
Beautiful.
I have to give you two numbers. I cannot give you just one number. I can give you a number if truck size was not an issue and we could just buy a pre-manufactured truck not to our specifications.
Oh, we'll get into this later.
It won't fit in our building.
Yes.
It'd be about $275,000.
Okay, that's enough. That's the cheaper of the two, because the next one would be a lot more expensive because that's a fin. Okay, but that's what we're just looking for.
Okay.
It's just about $275, which is $100,000 more.
You're replacing them on a hopefully a 20-year cycle, 25 at the max.
Which is longer than
trucks you're swapping out, I think, at 7 years.
Right, which is much longer than what these trucks last.
Exactly.
Right.
And quite a bit more money.
Okay. Yes, Herb, you spoken twice to this?
Yeah, well, they're talking about
Go ahead, you can talk.
raise the money, but we had a capital expenditure thing set up and the people voted it down where you raise a little each year so you didn't have to raise it all at once.
I do remember voting that down one
That's
year.
right. That way they would have had the money by the time it's ready to change the truck.
I do remember that. Okay, further discussion. Yes, sir. Okay.
So what's the cost of the tandem? 20,000 left?
What's the cost of the tandem? I thought 170. Oh, single.
20?
A single is $20,000 less, is what he's saying.
So I
Okay.
can make an amendment to the article to 150,000.
Okay, is there a second to that amendment? Herb? They want to reduce it by $20,000. Okay, let's discuss the amendment, although I think we already have, about the differences between the single and the double. Is there any other discussion about the single versus the double? Everybody understand? Okay, there's an amendment on the floor to reduce the $170,000 to $150,000. A yes vote passes the amendment and reduces the amount. A no vote defeats the amendment. Herb, second. Any questions? Everybody understand? Yes, sir. Question.
Could the select board tell me how much $20,000 or $50,000 raises on the tax rate?
No.
You should be able, they should be know how much $10,000 is or $12,000? Is it a penny or what?
Should be roughly a nickel.
Again, it changes every year with the way the schools are factored in.
It changes every year depending on the schools, the way they're factored in. I'm just repeating. Okay, so we're voting on the amendment. No other discussion? Okay, no interruption. A yes vote reduces it by $50,000, $20,000 to $150,000. A no vote defeats the amendment. Okay, everybody understand? All those in favor of the amendment, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed to the amendment, please. No. Thank you. The noes have it. The amendment fails. We're back to the main motion. Yes, sir.
It is Stelling. I'm confused about we're trying to appropriate $170,000 in this year. But if I heard correctly, we're most likely to finance a significant portion of that. And if we're going to finance it, then why are we appropriating the full amount?
Not appropriating, it says raise. It says vote to raise $170,000. That can be over multiple years if we were to finance it. We don't have to raise all that money one year.
Further discussion? Yes, sir.
So that does not become an item in this year's budget? Because you're raising it over multiple years. You're not increasing the budget by 170,000.
No. We're not increasing by 170,000. We most likely we'd get this truck most likely toward the end of the next budget cycle anyway. So there will be a certain factor in the tax rate that is set forward. But again, we haven't had that discussion. We didn't know what the will of the people was as far as buying this vehicle. So we have not looked into the financing aspects of it, or do we have a plan for how we would finance it over 5 years, 3 years, whatever. We haven't gotten that far.
Yes.
If that money is raised this year, then that's not running over multiple years and financing. That's going to be in your tax rate this year.
I don't think so. We've every year have had to add additional equipment purchase monies to the tax rates, as opposed to raising the entire amount up front. The loader we did raise that entire amount up front in that one tax year. We did not finance it. We did not finance the 1 ton that we just put on. But the other equipment that we had purchased over the years, like the 550 that just went off, the last payment was last year, and we were financing that over the course of many years.
You had more than one truck being financed at that time. Now you're not going to, so if you're raising this money for this one truck, that's what you're going to spend it on.
It will be spent on the truck, but it all won't be raised in 1 year.
Well, you're asking for it 1 year.
Right.
Okay, Dick?
Dick Jackson, I move to call a question.
Okay, the question's been called, and to close debate, you need a 2/3 vote, which means we have to raise hands, because you gotta divide the house to do it. Yes, sir. To close the question, or for the actual vote? We're not there yet, but we'll get there in a second. Okay, so all those in favor of calling the question, please raise your hand. Okay, down, all those opposed? We got 2/3. Yes, we have 2/3. The question has been called. Okay, so hang on, Murph. A yes vote passes the motion to raise $170,000 by taxation toward a new highway truck. A no vote defeats that. Herb, you want a paper ballot?
Yes,
we need 6 more people to approve it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Raise your hands if you want a paper ballot. Keep them up. 6. Okay, we got it. There's somebody else over there. Okay, so there's a paper ballot now. So before we open the ballot box, everybody understand, a yes vote passes the motion. $170,000 for a new truck, highway department truck. A no vote defeats the motion. The ballot box is now open. No, I'm going to break the thing. Come on. Article 9. Total votes, 111. Yes, 92. No, 17. Blank, 2. Article 9 passes. Okay, Article 10. To see if the town will vote to raise $88,000 by taxation to be held in a reserve account for the repair of the Stone Arch Bridge on Back Windham Road, contingent upon successful award of grant funds. I will entertain a motion. Say that again. I got Coke here. Second. Charlie, march it. Discussion. Hearing no discussion, there's a motion on the floor to see if the town will vote to raise $88,000 by taxation to be held in the reserve account to repair the Stone Arch Bridge on Back Windham Road, contingent upon successful completion, successful award of grant funds. A yes vote passes the motion, and a no vote defeats it. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no? I don't know if I've ever seen the town in 100% agreement in anything ever. That Stone Arch Bridge better feel very proud. Yeah, okay, now let's divide ourselves again, right? Okay, Article 11, to see if the town will vote to raise $52,345 by taxation for the running expenses and liabilities of the library. Pages 19 and 20 of the library stuff if you're interested. I'll entertain a motion.
Second.
Discussion. Hearing no discussion. It's been moved and seconded to see if the town will vote to raise $52,345 by taxation for the running expenses and liabilities of the library. A yes vote passes the motion, a no vote defeats it. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Library gets unanimous too. I believe the ayes have it. The ayes do have it. Okay, Stone Arch Bridges and Libraries. Got it. Article 12. To see if the town will vote to raise $10,000 by taxation to be placed in the capital expenditure fund fire department reserve towards a future pumper.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing no discussion, a yes vote will pass the motion to raise $10,000 for the capital expenditure fund fire department reserve, and a no vote will defeat it. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, 3 in a row. Should we get used to this? No. To see if the town, Article 13, to see if the town will vote to raise $1,750 by taxation for the old cemetery fund. Irv and Charlie. Charlie's going to do the second, sure. Page 22, in case you're interested, that's the cemetery information. Any discussion on this old cemetery fund? Seeing no discussion, motion on the floor to see if the town will vote to raise $1,750 by taxation for the old cemetery fund. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. 4. I know, this is, what do we do? What do we do? I know, well. I need to slow down. Article 14. To see if the town will vote to raise $13,460 by taxation for the support of social services as recommended. Motion, no. Second? Second. Second over there. That's page 23 and 24, just so you know. And I know there's going to be discussion on this, so. Okay. Any discussion? We'll start start in the back because she's got the microphone. There you go. Oh.
I'd like to review on that with the SEBCA. There's appropriated nothing for this year. It's requested a $1,500. SEBCA is very vital to our community and has done a lot for this town as well as the surrounding towns.
Are you?
I suggest we bring that back up to $1,500.
Are you making an amendment?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So 1,500. Is that what you're amending to? We need a number. We need a number, an amount. 1,500? 15 back on. Okay, so there's an amendment on the floor to add $1,500. I gotta keep track of all this stuff. $1,500, Mike Bills. $1,500 for SEFCA specifically. Page 23 and 24. SEFCA is on page 23. Ooh, I'm looking for it. Bottom, there it is. They requested 15, recommendation 0. So it's been moved and seconded to add $1,500 to the total for SEFCA. Discussion about that to begin with, and then we'll have a vote on SEFCA. Any discussion on that specifically? Yes?
Can anyone explain why it was cut?
Oh, wait. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Alicia Moyer. I'm a resident of West Townsend, have been for almost 20 years, and currently employed by SEFCA, just by coincidence. And I just happened to notice that there was nothing being added in 0 this year after years of funding. And I just want to say that SEFCA definitely thanks the select board and the town for supporting SEFCA over the years. And SEFCA provided $60,600 worth of services to 55 Townsend residents in 28 households last year, including a range of needs. But last year, services were provided for $1,500 in town support, which is 2.5% of the value of the services provided. So over $40 for every dollar that was funded. So it's a good return on investment. And I think it's they do really great work. I now see behind the scenes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, my question was someone from the Social Service Committee, please explain why the cut was made in the first place.
Somebody from the Social Services Screening Committee, please explain why SEFCA was cut.
Yes, no one volunteered for the Social Services Committee, so it was the Select Board. The Select Board had seen examples that the application process was flawed, and that's why we didn't put any money in for it. It appears to be income-based and not asset-based. Is that accurate?
So, the executive director of SEFCA just happens to be here today. So if people want some specific answers to add to the discussion, he's better able to answer these questions than I, obviously. Steve Geller.
No, he's not a resident. Not a resident? Okay, so hang on. Do we want to hear from the head of SEFCA? Yes? Okay, so we have to, if there's no objection, we'll suspend the rules and allow him to talk. Any objection? Hearing no objection, sir, you have the floor.
Here's Steve Geller.
Steve what? Wait, Steve?
Geller.
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 Thank you. For the minutes, thank you.
I'm the executive director of SEFCA, and I apologize, I didn't quite understand the statement or the question you had just raised.
So in order to qualify for services from SEFCA, is it based on your income?
It depends on the particular service and program under which it's operating. Many of the services are income eligible. Our mission as an anti-poverty program is to serve people generally with the lowest incomes who are in the greatest need and the least resources to be able to meet their needs. So in particular, the funding we get from state and federal grants all require a minimum income threshold. Generally, that's based on the federal poverty level, or a percentage above that, or a percentage of the median income for the county in which we operate, either Windham or Windsor County for us. So many of our programs are income-based, which is a way of ensuring that they're serving people who generally have the highest need and the least ability to have those needs met, whether it's housing or fuel or education or food or whatever else it is. But you said you used the term the application process was flawed. I don't understand what you mean by that.
So the information that came to the Select Board, which is why we based our decision, is as follows. You can have an income that makes you eligible for SEFCA services, but you can also own $400,000 worth of property in town and still qualify. Is that accurate?
That particular figure I don't believe is accurate. Again, different programs have different, in addition to income eligibility criteria, they also have maximum asset criteria. It depends on the particular funding source, federal or state. In all of our private foundation or private funds, unrestricted funds we use, including
all the funding we get from Townsend and all the other towns in the 2 counties, we don't have an asset limitation. But generally, those asset criteria allow people to own a home, for example, not a second home. And they allow them to own a car, but only up to a certain value. So it's very complicated, and each service that we provide has a different set of criteria regarding income and assets. For the most part, these thresholds are rated such that, you know, we allow people to have a little bit of equity in their lives. So to own their own home, whatever the value of that home is, doesn't disqualify them if they have no income, if they've been laid off, or they have, you know, great medical costs that are overriding whatever income they have. And they still have to come in within the income guidelines.
Do you have anything else to say?
Well, I want to stress that although the amount of money we get from this community and all the other communities that we come and request funding for is not a large part of our budget, it's a very significant piece of it because, as I said, most of the state and federal funding we get has a lot of restrictions on it. So there are a lot of people that may be just barely above the income limit, whether it's 150% of the poverty level, they may be $100 over, and we have to turn them away. With the unrestricted funds we get, like these, we have discretion over them, and that way the people, the workers on the ground who are serving people have the ability to say, even though they may be above, just barely squeaking above the maximum income limit, these people are in great need. They have a lot of extenuating circumstances, and we can use these funds to help people where we can't use any of the federal or state grants in many cases. That's why it's so important to us. The value of our services has actually gone up over the years. It went up 25% from the year before. Last year's value went up 25%, and we're seeing a great need in this community, as we are in many other communities. And we were shocked, frankly, to see that the Select Board had voted to recommend no funding, because we feel that the services we provided, the assistance we provided, has been amazingly beneficial to people who are in great need. And all we're asking is a little bit of contribution from each town to help us meet the needs that we might not be able to meet with our more restricted state and federal funds.
One question that I have, concern, is somebody applies for SEVCA's need or their services. They apply, they get it, they're renting a place, then they moved however long later, the services that you have provided them with stays with the building instead of going with the person that was in need of it. So basically you're helping the person that is the landlord almost more than you're helping the person that applied for your service. And that is a question, maybe that's not how it works or something, but that's kind of how I see it.
I assume you're talking about our weatherization program, which we actually insulate and weatherize and seal up a home so that they're using less energy. The heat is not going out into the environment.
Any sort of upgrade to the infrastructure of a building that is not owned by the person that is applying for it is what I'm getting to.
And the only things that are done in that way are, and primarily it's weatherization, which is our biggest program in terms of the overall funding. We have a small home repair program as well, and I think last year we've provided a couple of residents with home repair. Let me look quickly. No, actually we didn't. We did the year before. There were 2 homes that had home repair services. The answer is yes. The nature of that program is such that if you repair a home, if you weatherize it, if you blow insulation into the walls or in the attic, and the resident for whom it was provided moves, they can't take it with them. In the case of weatherization, there is a stipulation that if the resident leaves or the landlord, if it's a renter, kicks them out within a year, the landlord has to pay that back. But otherwise, there's really nothing we can do. We make the best faith effort to provide services to the people who qualify, who are most in need of it. We work with landlords to and get as much assurance as we can that their intention is not to force those tenants out and then raise the rent because the value of the property has now increased with the work we've done on it. But there's only so much we can do to police that. The frequency with which that happens is pretty small. For the most part, people stay in the homes in which we do the weatherization for a very long time, and the majority of the homes are single-family owner-occupied homes that we do. In fact, for home repair, that's almost the only recipient are single-family owner-occupied. The funding we get for that program doesn't allow rental property to be repaired.
Any other questions about the amendment on the floor? Yes, sir.
This morning, we talked about the carbon tax and the need to weatherize and make our housing stock more fuel efficient. Seems to me this issue of SEPCA's weatherization program is a classic example of how we're doing that. So it really ties in with well, this issue that I raised about the carbon tax, which I guess isn't going to be an issue with the legislature, but the need to reduce our carbon footprint and weatherize our housing stock, there it is, with SEPCA's weatherization program.
And may I add to that, while there may not be a lot of appetite for a carbon tax, there is a lot of interest in the legislature and the governor's office in increasing the amount of weatherization that is able to be done in Vermont, with a great deal of that focus going to low and moderate income families who could not otherwise afford to do that work. And so there's a number of proposals going around that relate to some of the climate change initiatives that will as much as double the amount of low-income weatherization over the next number of years. And we're getting ready to try to increase our capacity to meet that demand. And we want to provide all the weatherization we can to all the residents in all the communities that we're able to.
Two more.
One quick question, I guess, is are your monies that you take in like this that aren't federally or state restricted in your accounting for yourselves? Do you actually itemize out these monies and how you use them? So like if boards like this have a question of for $2,000, not really sure where you're going to spend it, if you kind of have that more of a segregated area where they can understand, yeah, they're helping out, we're not taking field trips, we're not going for a vacation.
The money, based on accounting principles, goes into an unrestricted fund, and we draw out of that fund to, assist people, to provide, rental assistance or fuel assistance or other kinds of help that people need. We don't actually account in line item detail for the money that goes in there, but we can account for all of the money that we raise from the towns in terms of how it's actually used, the nature of the usage of it. We certainly are not in a position, it's not feasible for us to account town by town in 40 separate accounts, but it's all in an unrestricted town funding account.
Jeff?
I wanted to call it.
Okay. Jeff, Russ. The question is just called. 2/3 majority to call the question. All those in favor of calling the question, ending debate, please raise your hand. On the amendment, not on the main motion, right? On the amendment, right? Okay, all those against it, raise your hand. Okay, the question has been called. So there's amendment on the floor. Can't see it. There's There's an amendment on the floor to increase the support for social services by $1,500 for SEFCA. A yes vote passes the amendment, and a no vote defeats the amendment. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The main motion now reads to see if the town will vote to raise $14,960 for the support services. Continued discussion on support services. Yes. We got one up front and then one in the back. Hang on down.
I noticed that we have 8 lines where you are recommending less than what they asked for, and 2 where you're recommending more than they asked for. My question is, why the 2 more?
Okay, I just have to find. We took the money that we had decided not to appropriate or to approve or recommend, let's use the word recommend, for the ones that you said were lowered, and reapportioned that money, or part of that money, to Newbrook Fire, took them back to the 2019 appropriation, and also to the food shelf. I think it was the food shelf.
Wait, Dale first, and up front.
I have just a comment of concern. Obviously, Townsend, we're very ergonomically development strategies. The Southern Vermont Ergonomic Development Strategies is a program where is a region. I know when I was on the Planning Commission, Townsend, we complained about having a lot of tax exempt land and stuff and needing to draw financial ergonomics development. I believe we should probably try to partner with this group, and fortunately in the future that we could probably support this group, and maybe we could actually benefit as a town by supporting and working with this group. And I understand that noticing that they requested $3,600 might be a lot, but we're not going to give them a dime, and then we turn around and on our backside complain about why we don't get things that some of these other towns are, and we need to support each other, and we want to, develop this town a little bit better. We might need to start thinking of putting our own little 2 cents in and getting some of these things. So I just want to make a comment.
Hey, yeah, wait a second. We're giving Newbrook, and do we have something in Newfane for them to give us? Yeah, okay, good. Just wondering. That's a good question. Okay, more discussion.
That was going to be my question. Why are we donating to Newbrook?
Where is Newbrook?
Why don't we donate to Jamaica? Does Newbrook do something for us in particular that we should support?
Partner with us.
No, let's let the fire chief answer this one.
So to my knowledge, Jamaica doesn't request any donation in the social services portion of our town report. Newbrook does. If you compare the amount of calls that Newbrook comes to, and that's because of the medical calls, their mutual aid on the fire service side, which is also we're mutual aid to them in Jamaica. We all have to work together. But because Townsend doesn't have a medical or EMS response as part of its fire department, we have to rely on Newbrook to cover a good portion, as well as Grafton covers a portion, and Jamaica covers a portion. It's just how Newbrook is put in and always asks for money. They run a very different organization from what most towns do. They solely support themselves. don't know if that, hopefully that answers your question.
So they provide EMS services?
They provide the first response EMS services
What
for
about rescue?
rescue, we pay, but even though, anytime a tone goes out, they're gonna have a first response group respond as well as an ambulance service.
Oh, so EMS is in addition to rescue?
Correct. Yeah. It's all the same, but a little bit different.
Thank you. More discussion about social services. We're still on social.
I'm Sally Newton. I was concerned that there's no money in the budget in social services for the Watershed Alliance, which when I was a kid, you couldn't swim in the West River because it was so dirty, and now it's been cleaned up a lot, and I believe we need to continue with those efforts. Our clean rivers are pretty important to Vermont in many ways, and I think we should continue to support that with their request of $260.
That's fine. There it is. I found it. Sorry. Is that an amendment?
Well, I'm thinking that if there's another amendment coming along, it should include if there are other things, instead of doing different separate amendments. Like if we said $260 and then somebody else said, well, maybe we need to fund the Humane Society, we put that together and not have to do.
I mean, we could. Are we that organized? Yes? I got a yes. Is there any, is this a valid question to ask? I don't know if I'm allowed to do that. Is there anybody else that wants to add to the social services? But I don't want to say that because you could take away too. Yes, Bernice.
Gerda's Equine Rescue, it's $100. She does a wonderful thing with horses. And also the Windham County Humane Society. They requested $500. I know we've always given every other year. And I know that the town probably has a contract with them, but.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find them all. There's Humane Society, that's 500? Okay. Are you making an amendment?
I am.
Okay. We're organizing the amendment. So far, we have, well, do you want to vote on them separately, or do you want to vote on them together? Because if you do them together, and somebody doesn't want one versus the other, that kind of makes it a little, so maybe we should do it separately. No, I like the together idea, but yes, sir.
Mr. Robert, you have to follow the amendment that was given to you.
Right, that's that amendment, but we had an amendment here.
That was not an amendment.
She said that she would do an amendment with other ones, right? Okay, so if I say no.
It's not an amendment.
Okay, sir, there you go. Bernice, we have your amendment. Would you like to make an amendment to the amendment, ma'am?
Can you
Yes.
do that?
Yes.
Is that going to make it difficult
No.
for people to vote on?
No, it's just going to clean up what he wants cleaned up.
Okay, yes.
Done. Okay, we now have an amendment to the amendment. She added the $260. Bernice added $100 for Bert's horse thing. Gert's horse thing. Then $500 for the Humane Society. Then we have an amendment to the amendment to add $260 for the, what was that one? The Watershed Alliance. Thank you. Okay. Okay, we can't have any more amendments. We can't have any more amendments. You can amend it in just a second. You can amend it in just a second. Just trying to put them together. Bernice made an amendment to add, just an amendment to an amendment. Yeah, amendment to amendment, that's good. Okay, so we're voting on whether or not to amend the amendment to add 260 to the Watershed Alliance. Okay, that's the first thing, yes. That was the select board budget. This is social services. This is totally different. What do you mean, what's the difference? This is for social services. This has nothing to do with the town, per se. I mean, it's tax. Okay, I'm not going to explain this. Somebody else like to explain it? but it's not my job.
Okay, the social services come in as requests from each of these different agencies. And this year, because we had no volunteers, the select board went through each of these requests and made a recommendation for the social service piece that's in your town report. Because they're individual requests, we came up with a dollar amount, but you notice we also had an individual amount for every one of the requests. You are entitled, as the voters, to change every line item on here if it is so your choice. In other words, it's not like a budget, because it's not a budget. It's an individual request for these different agencies. Does that kind of explain what the difference is? As opposed to just tax money to run something, this is a request from individual people. And I will also say the reason that we're kind of going through this exercise is the select board, when we had this discussion, decided we were going to focus on services that it did directly impact people, individuals, as opposed to some of the business, more oriented toward the businesses or the animals, because we do have a contract, for example, with Windham County Humane Society, etc. That was just the focus that we had when we went through these requests.
Yes. In the back?
Yeah, I just want to make one, we're just going to go there were no volunteers for the social services committee. Last year, 4 of us served, there were 2 of us appointed, 2 volunteers. This year, after town meeting, I was told that the select board had made their appointments. If you weren't appointed, you weren't on it. So I figured I was no longer one. None of us who worked on this last year were appointed. We never heard that we were supposed to step up to volunteer. Some helped me last year because I didn't think it should be done by just one person. So I think we need to clean up, is this a volunteer position or is this appointed position? I think many of us would have served if we had been appointed or asked.
Okay. We have an amendment to an amendment on the floor. Irv, do you have something on the amendment to the amendment?
Call the question.
On the amendment to the amendment? Okay. The question's been called. Is there any objection to that? Okay. See, no objection to calling the question. There's an amendment to add the Watershed Alliance to the amendment that adds something else. Okay, because we'll vote on that other amendment later. Do you understand?
Yes.
Yes.
No? Yes? The clerk says no. Everybody out here says yes. We need to reverse it. Okay, everybody understand? So we're voting just on adding the Watershed Alliance, but that doesn't add it to the main motion yet, right? Right. Okay. So all those in favor of adding the Watershed Alliance to the amendment, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no?
No.
I believe the ayes have it. The ayes do have it. Now we have an amendment on the floor to increase the social services budget or allocation by $860, which includes $260 for the Watershed Alliance, $100 for GERTS. Is that what it is? I keep GERTS. There it is. Girders Equine Rescue, and $500 for the Humane Society. That's the amendment we're discussing now. Any further discussion on those items? Seeing no further discussion, there's an amendment to the main motion to add $260 for the Watershed Alliance, $100 for Girders Equine Rescue, and $500 for the Humane Society. A yes vote passes the motion and a no vote defeats it. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no?
No.
I think I have to divide the house on my own. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, down. All those opposed, please raise your hand. Okay, the ayes definitely have it. So now we have a main motion on the floor to see if the town will vote to raise, where are we at? 14,960 plus, what was it, 860? What was that?
15,820.
Thank you, math people. 15,820. We're now up to 15,820 for the support of social services. We're still discussing it. Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to make an amendment that we take the two items that were increased past the request, that would be the food shelf and Newbrook, and take them back down to what they requested.
Okay, so Newbrook was at 2,500, but they only requested 1,500, so we'll reduce by 1,000. And then food shelf was, where is it? Yell numbers at me. I can't find it.
Down 300.
Down 300? Food shelf down 300. So we're talking $1,300 reduction. Okay, discussion? Yes, in the back? She says, I agree, it's a great idea. Any other discussion, in case you didn't hear her? Yes, sir.
I'm Joe Winrick. I'm on the board of directors.
And Joe needs a microphone.
I'm on the board of directors of the food shelf. It's Joe Winrick. We request the same number every year, again and again, just because it's kind of rote. We would love to have the increase in our request, and we could request, a lot more than this. We're based here in Townsend. I didn't bring numbers to speak to it, but I could certainly give them to you. Townsend is our #1 supported town, and we get heavy use from Townsend, Jamaica, New Maine, and then Athens and Wardsboro. But Townsend is statistically our highest use. So, if you have it in you to support us, at the higher level, that'd be appreciated. We definitely.
Are you making an amendment to the amendment?
I'm just speaking against the amendment. I would like to see things stay where the select board generously gave us.
Thank you. Further discussion? Over here, Herb's got something. Oh, call the question on the amendment? Well, any other discussion on the amendment? Seeing no other discussion? Okay. Seeing no other discussion, we're going to be voting on an amendment to return the food shelf and Newbrook Fire Department to their requested amounts, right? A yes vote passes the amendment and returns them to the requested amount. A no vote keeps the amounts the way they're published. All those in favor, questions? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. No. Let's divide the house. All those in favor, raise your hand. Ooh. Okay. All those opposed, raise your hand. Any help here? Justice of the pieces? Do we want to count? Okay, hands down. We're going to count. You guys, that side? You two this side? Okay, all those in favor of the amendment to reduce the amount by what we said, please raise your hand. Yes, sir.
Call for paper ballot.
Paper ballot on the amendment. I need 6 other people. I see no other people. All those in favor, raise your hands again. Go, count.
You guys put them up one more time.
We could make you stand. Yeah, that's okay. You guys good? Okay, all those opposed? Okay, you got it. We got it. Yes, agreed? Agreed. The noes have it. Okay, the noes have it. The amendment fails. The amendment fails, which means the numbers published remain in the book. For Newbrook and, just for those two. Just for the food shelf and Newbrook, they remain what's published in the book. That's all. Okay, so now we have a main motion on the floor that says to see if the town will vote to raise $15,820 by taxation for the social services. We can continue to discuss. Okay. Okay. No other discussion? Okay, seeing no other discussion, the main motion on the floor is to see if the town will vote to raise $15,820 by taxation for the support of social services. A yes vote passes it, and a no vote defeats it. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Thank you very much. And that's why you guys pay me the big bucks. Okay, time check. Oh, how about we'll try for 15? Article 15, to see if the town will authorize the Board of Selectmen to acquire land by gift or purchase for municipal forest to promote reforestation, water conservation, and good forestry practices.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Oh, we're going to do this. Opposed, no? I believe the ayes have it. The ayes do have it. Quick, let's go. We can finish in the morning. Never done that before. Article 16, to see if the town will set the first Tuesday in March 2020 as the date for the 2020 Townsend annual meeting. Everybody, the whole town, so moved from the whole town and seconded by the whole town. Before we vote, who here thinks 2020 should be the future? Should we be like flying around in cars and, you know, on Mars? And I mean, 2020 when I was in high school was like a million miles away, right? Okay, all those in favor of seeing me again first Tuesday in March 2020, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no? I believe the ayes have it. The ayes do have it. I don't think we should go into the other non-binding business right now because there'll probably be discussion on that. Right? No? I mean, there is a... Huh? Do you want to keep going? Finish it up in the morning? Okay. I've heard multiple people say better discussion now than after lunch because there's more people here. Okay. Let's keep rocking and rolling. Okay. To transact... Article 17, to transact any other non-binding business. Let's have a talk. Yes, sir.
I would like to declare the hospital zone a safe zone. Right now, it's not a safe zone.
I hear you. You have it in your hand. Use the microphone.
Currently, in front of the hospital is a very dangerous situation. We've known this for many, many years. The traffic right there is 30 miles an hour. It's much too fast. Most people don't go 30 miles an hour, but we do have a lot of people that exceed that limit. It's a very, very dangerous area. In addition, I'm addressing this to the Select Board as well as the Planning Commission. In addition to that, I'm very concerned about the lack of safe passage from Valley Cares to Town Common. We do not have proper walking space or bicycle space for these people to go back. It's used a lot, an awful lot. I don't know why we do not have a sidewalk there. I know it's a big expense. It's something that should have been put there when we put Valley Care there. But we didn't do it, and I really think we definitely should have it there. And I think most people will agree with me on that. The third issue I want to bring up, again, it's about safety, is the very dangerous passage from Townsend to Holmesville. I don't know how many people tried to walk that route. It's extremely dangerous. Most people don't because it's so dangerous. 15 years or more ago, we had the authorities here. They looked it over. It seemed like it was going to be a very expensive project. They were planning on pushing the mountain back, putting 2 sidewalks, put a new driveway, shift everything. Well, I can understand where that's going to be very expensive, but I looked that over many times. There are many, you can cut that expense in half easily. I'm just wondering if the highway, the Planning Commission or the Select Board have been looking at this at all the past number of years. Thank you.
If I'm not mistaken, I do believe that Valley Cares, when they were put in, didn't they have it set up where they were supposed to provide a walkway from Valley Cares to Grace Cottage? Am I right with that? No? Okay, well then the path that goes down through, isn't there a path in the back? That must have just been a mirage or
That's
something.
not right. That's totally out of the question. It ends up right behind, it ends up in the parking lot of the hospital. And you can't get through there in the wintertime.
I understand. But I believe that's, am I right or not? That they were supposed to put a path in and keep it stable.
I find it very, I'm sorry.
I agree. I agree with the comment about the hospital. Can you hear it? No? This is not working. It's on, yeah. I'll speak loud. I agree. I'm Doug DeVello. I'm the CEO of Grace Cottage Hospital. And I've been here 1 year, and I've noticed a lot in the year that I've been here. And one of the things I've noticed is how dangerous it is to cross the street, particularly for patients who park across from the family health clinic and walk across the road to get to their doctor's office or provider's office. And I further agree that we should create a safe driving zone in front of the hospital. The designation to be provided by the highway department, they could designate from where that should start and where that should end. And additionally, the hospital would be willing to pay the cost to install signs designating a slow down zone, a mile per hour slow down zone, hospital zone, so that we can establish a safe space in front of the organization so patients are protected from speeders. So.
Stand up. Roger Albee. I totally agree with my successor. It's something that's been discussed for years. In fact, we were thinking of changing the whole arrangement of the hospital at one time for that reason. I think the state highway department, state transportation department needs to be petitioned very aggressively to put in a safe zone there.
We went through that business with the state, and the state came down and done a survey on it. That's when they dropped it to 30 miles an hour, from 35 or more. And they said that being a state highway, that's what it should be. And they also set a line so to keep the cars back away from the edge of the road out there, which at the hospital parking lot, a lot of them park right over top of that line and snow stuff and out towards the road.
I would say that part of the problem is there's inadequate parking. And part of that is that the parking behind Grace Cottage is insufficient for the number of people there. So it would be considerably safer if the hospital had more parking away from the road back behind the hospital. The other aspect is there is a crosswalk there. It could be repainted because there are an awful lot of people that do not cross at the crosswalk where it's clear. And so they end up coming out from behind cars, which makes it hard for them to be seen.
That's one of the big problems. They just cross anyway.
Have you ever seen some of the trucks that go down past that hospital at 100 miles an hour?
No.
It feels like.
Dale West, Jamaica, Townsend resident. I used to be a Jamaica resident, now I'm a Townsend resident. So either way, Route 35 is actually a town Class 2 road in which you do need to follow AOT Vermont state standards because it is a town Class 2 road in which you would have to do a traffic study, do a design, and do all that to get there. Just some food for thought from knowledge of being work for the state, that the town actually has control of that area. They just need to properly go through, and the state could assist them with that. And as a resident, you do have the right to go to the town and to the state and try to get those zones created. But sometimes when it gets into that level, it creates some things that you can't control. Just food for thought. You may not like some of the mandates that you would have to do to achieve that and the costs.
Thank you. Wait 1 second. Right here. Up front, and then even further forward after that.
All I'm suggesting is that by supplementing the signs that we have so that people who are not familiar with the area, who are passing through Townsend, recognize that they're entering a hospital zone, would, I believe, encourage them to take notice and to slow down in front of the hospital. Grace Cottage does not look like a traditional hospital. It blends into the town very nicely. And I think a lot of visitors and out-of-town drivers don't realize that they're approaching a hospital zone. And so all I'm suggesting is that if we can bring attention to the fact that they're coming into a hospital zone and exiting a hospital zone, they'll be more respectful and we'll slow down. That's all I'm suggesting. And I think blaming the person who's hit by a car for crossing the road when they shouldn't have because they couldn't find parking on one side of the street is a little illogical.
Hi, Paul Patus, and I would echo that the problem exists there as far as the hospital zone, but I think it starts well before that on Route 35, and anyone who lives on Route 35 can attest to that. And I spoke about this a couple of years ago, that I think that since we have a problem with enforcement of the speed, that one suggestion that might be food for thought might be to get one of those signs, those flashing signs that gives immediate feedback to drivers. I know that I slow down when I see that light flashing, and I think it's effective. It might be worth considering because this is a problem, and it would be unfortunate to have an accident either at the hospital or along Route 35 where people do walk, and there are lots of children playing nearby and so forth. So that would be other food for thought.
That's what Tajima did. Best for that one.
I live about half a mile up from the hospital, and when I pull out of my driveway, sometimes I feel like I'm taking my life in my hands. You know, there's a slight curve that I can't see beyond before I turn out, and yeah, people just, you know, it's kind of a straightaway there, so people figure, you know, they can step on it. And yeah, like I say, I feel like I'm taking my life in my hands to pull out of my driveway.
Okay, any other, yes, right here?
Is there a warning sign someplace before you get there?
Is there a warning sign? There's also a school zone. Is there a warning sign somewhere is what she's asking. Not for the school zone. No. There's a hospital sign right at the beginning of 35? Oh, yeah, here. How about the other way? That's the other. Okay, more, yes? Where I'm non-binding eating into your lunch, because we have to be back by 1 no matter what.
This will be quick. Alicia Moyer again. In my previous job at Valley Cares, one of the first things people asked me to do is to try to get a sidewalk in. Right. Well, I'm not that powerful, but I did have a conversation with Matt Mann, who was then with the Windham Regional Commission, and I learned quite a bit about the complexity of, you know, the steps, the feasibility studies, all of that. And but it sounded like one of the main barriers might be the town taking on yet another new project where they would be then responsible for clearing the sidewalk. I mean, there are lots of things that have to be considered. But I do think that it would be really valuable just watching elders and, well, I guess I'm approaching being an elder myself, walking in that area. It's pretty frightening, and it would be great to have a walkway between this health institution that supports people's health. There are a lot of people who work for the hospital who are promoting health, who walk. I think it would be a fantastic project, so I guess I'm just spouting.
Yeah, what are you going to say? I was going to say something, Jeff. What do you want?
I was just saying that Grace Cottages said that they would be willing to pay for some signs, and somebody just brought up the point of getting one of those flashing signs. So what isn't that, whoever brought that up, go talk to Grace Cottage about getting a couple of those signs.
Yeah?
You can't just put signs up without seeing state money.
You're gonna go through the state. You can't just roll that stick the sign out.
We understand. Okay, here's the question for you. Do you want to close the meeting and adjourn it, or do you want to recess it until after the district meeting? Do we have more non-binding business we want to talk about? Yes?
Totally unrelated to sidewalks
Yep,
or anything.
that's okay.
It's officers elected and appointed was listed on page 4 and 5, and there weren't any appointed this year as far as to kind of piggyback on what Kathy Greaves said, that She thought she was going to be on the social services, but didn't realize she had to volunteer. I guess I'm putting in a plug for appointments.
She wants me to weigh her coal again.
Yeah, I do. I actually did volunteer to be weigher of coal, and my name is not there.
And I'm the measure of the fence person.
If anybody wants to volunteer for any position, please see the select board. We'd love to have you.
That list was submitted to me for the town report, but was missed in my download, so it was omitted, and I apologize.
So there were.
It does exist.
You are still wearer of coal. You are still wearer of coals. Okay, yes, in the back. Recess. Do we want to recess or adjourn? They want to talk more. They want to talk more. Okay, so we'll just, okay, first of all, lunch is ready. I got a note. Lunch is ready when you are. Don't forget, they're selling t-shirts and, okay, lunch is by donation. T-shirts are right here. Hoodies. Get them for your down country family. They'd love to have them. Who made the motion to recess? Charlie. Is there a second to recess? Second, until after the district school meeting. District school meeting, 1 o'clock, back up here. We are now in recess. Warning. The legal voters of the town of Townshend in the county of Windham and the state of Vermont are hereby notified and warned to meet at 1 p.m. or so in the town hall in said town of Townshend on the first Tuesday, March 5th, 2019, to transact the following business and act upon the following articles. I will refrain from reading the entire warning. There's no objection. Seeing no objection, Article 1, to elect a moderator for the term of 1 year. I will now entertain nominations.
I nominate you.
You have been nominated. Any other nominations? Seeing no other nominations, if there are no objections and hearing no other nominations, I declare the nominations closed and instruct the clerk to cast one ballot for David Lebo for moderator for 1 year term. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Thank you for your putting up with me. School moderator. David Diesendorf did that a long time ago. Article 2, to elect school districts for the following terms. 1 3-year term, 1 1-year term, and another 1-year term. I will now entertain nominations for school directors, 1 3-year term. That spot is currently held by Al Clausen.
Nominate Al Clausen.
No, sorry.
Cliff? Oh, I think I asked before. Oh, we changed it to Cliff. Okay, it's Cliff. You're on the chopping block. I thought it was Al.
So did I.
So did Cliff.
We did 2 until we saw last year's report.
Townsend 2-year nominated. Al was nominated and voted to March 2021 last year. So it's not Al. Who else has got the 3-year term?
It's Eric. It's Eric. It's nominated.
Somebody nominate somebody. Eric. Eric Scott's been nominated for a 3-year term on the school board, which ends in July. Do you understand why I said that? Everybody? No? I got a question. So the Townsend School Board's going away in July, and there'll be that one big mud board after that. So we have to vote, re-elect them, but their jobs basically go away in July. That board gets dissolved in July. Correct? Correct. Okay? So we're voting for 3 years till July. Okay, Cliff is, Eric has been nominated. Any other nominations? Hearing no other nominations, and if there are no objections, I declare the nominations closed and instruct the clerk to cast one ballot for Eric Scott for a 3-year term on the school director school board, as a school director on the school board. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Let's see if I got this one right. School director, one-year term. I'll entertain nominations. It's now held by Christine Wright. Right. Okay. Christina Wright's been nominated.
I'll second her.
Beautiful. Any others? Hearing no other nominations, and if there are no objections, I declare the nominations closed and instruct the clerk to cast one ballot for Christina Wright for a one-year term as a school director. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Aye. All those? Oh, is that her husband? I think we're going to have a divided, because the husband weighs a lot. Okay, congratulations, Christine. I will now entertain nominations for the other one-year term, which is held by Sean.
I nominate Sean.
Where's Sean? Oh, there he is. I didn't see who was leaning back. There he is. Okay. Any other nominations? Hearing no other nominations, and if there are no objections, I instruct the clerk to cast one ballot for Sean O'Doux for a one-year term as a school director. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Thank you very much. The ayes have it. Article 3, to elect a West River Modified Union Education District officer for the following term. We have one spot opened for a 2-year term. I will now entertain nominations. Yes. Wait, I don't know if I want you to do it.
Who holds that spot?
Huh? Joe currently holds that spot. Joe Winterick currently holds the spot. This needs to, okay. I'll go.
I would like to.
Okay. Yes.
I nominate Cliff Pascal.
Okay. Cliff has been nominated, but we need to fix this first. Yes. Okay. Okay. Any other nominations? Joe? Joe? Okay. Any other nominations? And I can take more later, but we got Joe and Cliff right now. Okay, so it was warned for a 2-year term, except statute requires it to be 3 years.
Dave, I don't think that's statute. It actually is statute, as well as the articles require this to be a 3-year term. And we've spoken with, can I tell this story?
Well, wait, so they've spoken to lawyers and the Secretary of State's office to get a clarification, and I was pulling that up on my email, but I didn't get it. So basically what it's saying, what they said was to amend it from the floor to be 3 years. If the town accepts that, that's good enough. You're done. If the town doesn't like that, amend it for the 3 years, and then we must have another special town meeting to then ratify that amendment. Okay? So it's really up to the will of the town. Yes?
Is this for a position that's going away?
No, this is the other board. Right.
It's not quite that.
Right. This isn't just going to go away. This is for the mud board, the one that's going to exists now, but after July is going to be the only board. So, did my explanation make sense, and was it correct, Joe?
Yes. Could you repeat it, please, just to be...
Yes, absolutely. So, I'm just looking, let me see if I can't grab the email real quick.
There is a third option, too. If we don't like any of those, we can just elect as a 2-year term, and then the West River District would have to fix it next year. But it is, as long as the town agrees, amending this to be a 3-year term is sort of the preferred course of action, and electing it the way it's supposed to be.
I make that motion.
To make it three years.
Yeah, so moved. Second.
Okay, I would bring the motions to the floor as warned, then amend them to be 3 years instead of 2, then conduct the election. I would think that would be sufficient in that the folks at home knew they were going to elect these officers, and 2 versus 3 years is not huge in my mind. This is the the Secretary of State's office. However, if you think you need to do more, here's what statute says regarding dealing with incorrect warnings. And so that's what then he goes into. If the warning is incorrect, you could do it, but then you have to have a special meeting. Okay? So do we want to just amend it and leave it there? Everybody okay with that, town? Okay. So there's an amendment on the floor to change this to a 3-year term. A yes vote, who seconded it?
I did.
There we go.
Everybody.
Everybody. Okay. All those in favor of the amendment to 3-year terms, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no? Okay, the ayes have it. It's now a 3-year term, and we've cleaned that up. Watch your warnings. Okay, so now we're back to nominations. Any other nominations for a 3-year term? I have Joe Winrick and Cliff Passanote. Okay. Yes, sir.
So we elect somebody, say they decide in the year they don't want to do it, who appoints the new person?
I would think the
The select board in the town that that person represented, the select board in the town. If it's an at-large position, it would have to be us.
Are we sure it goes back to the select? I'm gonna say, in the past, it used to be the select board, but then you got to change to the school board.
There is no more district board, it goes to the town.
There's
And
no-
they
You don't think it's the mud
appoint
board?
to finish, no, the mud board.
Finish the term.
They finish, the select board appoints to finish the term, and then it goes back.
talk this way.
We're gonna talk about this later.
Yeah, we can talk about this, but that's my understanding.
There's your non-answer.
There's your answer.
If you didn't do it that way, then you could influence Townsend by being a new thing or Jamaica voter.
Good point.
Right, no, that makes sense that the town should do it, but I don't know what the law is. I don't know what the statute is. It's all new stuff. Mud is all new. Okay, any other nominations?
That's probably very.
Now, this is something else I don't know about. I would say we should have a paper ballot vote, though, and I don't know if that's required.
Yes, it is, if you have more than one.
No, not for every positioner, and I don't know about school directors. Okay, so is there 6 people for paper ballot? Yeah, it should. Okay, paper ballot. We have, so you have 2, wait, do the 2 people want to just say something briefly or not? You both don't have to. No? Yes? Yeah, they both, one said sure. Sure?
Sure.
Joe, sure?
Yeah, sure.
Would everybody like to hear something? Yes? Okay. Cliff first?
For those of you who don't know me, which I guess there's a few, I grew up in Newfane. I live in Townsend. I've been here for the last 17 years. I've been on the Townsend Elementary School Board for, I believe, 6 years now. I've been a part of a group who has been successful in making Townsend be the preferred elementary school in the district, shown by the school choice vote here that happened a couple months ago. I have a daughter who's in 4th grade. I have a vested interest in seeing how things are run for the next several years. I'm happy to listen to all people's opinion. I value everybody's input. I like to vote based on common sense and consensus, not trends or vogue strategies. So I consider everybody's thoughts, and if you have any questions of me right now, fire away.
No questions now. Is that what you just said?
I said if you would like.
If you would like to ask me questions, go right ahead.
No, you can't. Joe, you need a microphone.
Yeah.
Coming up front.
Yeah. Okay. Hi, I'm Joe Winrick. I have been on the Leland and Gray board for the last 10, 11 years. And I've been on the West River board since its inception. I've chaired that board for the 2 years that it's been in existence, as well as the Leland and Gray board for the last 5 years or so. I enjoy the work. I look forward to continuing to work to increase opportunity for our kids, as well as start the hard work of trying to figure out how to do this a little more efficiently and reduce the tax bill. I'm always available to listen to you, as well as the many voices that come from everywhere else. And that's about it. I don't have any kids in this. I don't have a vested interest, but I have a strong interest in public education. I think this is probably one of the most important things that we do is teach our children and expose them to, the greater world through school. Thanks. And I'll answer questions too.
No, you're not allowed to, sorry. Okay.
I just wanted equal opportunity.
Okay, so we have an election on the floor between, I'm going to just say first names because it's easy, Cliff or Joe. Those are the two names. This is for the 3-year position to the Modified West River Union Education District. Cliff or Joe? Questions? Yes.
We currently have a individual on the board.
Joe is on the board already.
So we only have one.
Well, no, you have Al, and then there are 2 at-large members that are also that are also Townsend residents. But they were elected.
So there's 4 Townsend residents on the board.
Yes.
And we're voting on Joe's position now, right?
Townsend technically gets 2 people on the board. They're always guaranteed.
That's what I
Garrett Townsend, and then the 2 at large are why? Because of the population?
From the 5 towns.
Oh, they can be, there's 2 at large from any town.
That's right.
Okay, and that depends on population. Oh, that's on the Australian ballot one then. Okay, that's on the Australian ballot. Okay, got it. Everybody understand all that? Okay. Ballot box is open. Cliff or Joe? 3-year position on the mud board. Have the results, the vote totals. Article 3, to elect the West River Modified Union Education District Officer for a 3-year term. Joe Winrick, 33 votes. Cliff Passnode, 28 votes. For a total of 61 votes, Joe wins the election. Okay, moving on to Article 4. Transact any other non-binding business to properly come before the meeting. Hearing no other non-binding business. Oh, you're behind me.
Yes, Mr. Moderator.
My eyes in the back of my hair is covering me.
Not the back of your head. So, I didn't bring a ton of copies for this, but we do have some talking points for the upcoming meetings for the West River Modified Union Education District budget voting process. Mr. Windrick, would you help in distributing those?
Sorry, I was having a celebratory cookie.
That's
Oh my God, you
So-
got it.
No, I just, they're 3-page little handouts. Who wants it?
What are we doing here?
This is some information regarding the upcoming,
Non-binding business.
yes, just to kind of illuminate the process.
I'm like, I feel like I should just throw this. There's actually, everything that's in here, I think, is in the book at the back too. Yeah. There's budget information meeting coming up on the 18th.
On the 18th, there's the budget. That's where the questions should be asked. On money on the school budget. I know this is other non-binding business, but there's a whole nother meeting devoted to multiple meetings. Unfortunately, I will not be available to moderate the informational meeting, sorry, but I will be there for the main. The 26th, I will be there. Okay.
All right, does everybody have a copy that wants a copy? Do you need one? All right, so I'm not going to read this verbatim, but essentially we have town meeting today. We have elected officials, and I will share the budget narrative facts, that's a couple pages back, as well as the red annual report, which I believe is also back on the table there. Big upcoming events, March 18th, we do have the budget information night, 7 p.m. at Leland and Gray. Then on the 26th, we have the red annual meeting, 7 p.m. at Leland and Gray. And on March 27th, we have voting day at town voting locations. There'll be 2 ballots, 1 pre-K, 6 budget ballot for WRED, 1 7 through 12 budget ballot for WRED. And then the voting counts after the polls have been closed. And then it goes on to talk about some possible outcomes. Both budgets are approved, board begins future work. One or both budgets not approved, then we convene. In the case that one or both budgets are not approved, the red board will convene and develop different budgets to present to voters at another Australian ballot on another day, most likely in May 2019. So, I'll let you read the next page at your leisure, but it regards the Windham effect on West River Modified Union Education District. I just wanted to touch base on the budget narrative, which is the next page. If everybody's there, page 3. So we did have a 4.78% increase in budget year over year, but I would want to point out that if we took out a couple large items, the special education increases and the building repair, et cetera, increase, we actually would have saved about $100,000 versus year over year on the budget. So we did have a decrease of operational expenses. And that's really, I mean, those are the major pieces of that. I will touch base on quickly on the last page, the estimated tax rate comparison. What this does is it compares, I think everybody realizes that last year the governor did a one-time money application to reduce property tax rates. So the top piece here talks about after the governor's one-time money applied, what does the tax bill look like? And then the next one is before governor's one-time money applied. And then the next one is as seen on tax bill after governor's one-time money applied, tax rate by town after CLA. Bottom line is that our tax rate in Townsend will be, at this point, $1.91, which is a 7.4% increase over last year. But if you, essentially in that second box, if you net out what the governor had added or had applied for property tax relief, we really are only at a 1.6% increase. And down below, it shows the incentives for voluntary merging. We do also get the small schools grant of $178,000, and we are held harmless to 3.5% on reduction of equalized pupils. And this year, we are in the first year of the incentives, so we do get an 8-cent tax relief. Next year will be 6, then 4, then 2 in the following years. Did anybody have any questions out of all of that? No? All right, and just to keep in mind, because of this whole new process, the $1.91 is not likely what we actually will see on our property tax bill. I've actually already seen an email that says there may be an additional change to that. So there could be a little bit of flux on that as well.
Good or bad?
Hopefully good.
Any other non-binding business? Seeing, yes, ma'am.
Question, on the budgets, you said there's one pre-K through 6 budget and one 7 through 12. I thought the 6th grade was being melded into the 7 through 12. Is
That is
this
a...
opening a can of worms?
It's because the way the structure, exists right now with Windham. Windham is not a part of the West River Education District. Can you all hear me? Windham is not a part of the West River Education District for high school, for elementary school. They retained their Windham District School Board and they're running pre-K 6. So we have to separate out the budget pre-K 6 and 7-12 to accommodate Windham voters because they're allowed to weigh in on the 7-12 budget. And if we put 6th grade in that budget, Windham voters wouldn't be allowed to vote on it, so we have, because of the accommodation for Windham, we have to make that, we have to separate the budgets that way.
Thank you for bringing the microphone around. Trying to. Any other discussion? Okay. Seeing no other discussion, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the school district meeting. So moved and second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The school district meeting is now closed. Okay, we're all sworn in. We'll now reconvene the town meeting. And we are up to other non-binding business. We're just still discussing non-binding business. Is there any further discussion on non-binding business in the town section of the meeting? Yes, sir, in the back.
I just wanted to take the moment to talk about, that was brought up during the auditor's report, that maybe the town of Townsend should start thinking about changing the financial office portion looking idea of the town. And I would feel that we would need to do that, have the discussions throughout the year so we could actually vote to change maybe the tax collectors and the treasurers and all that stuff, so we could actually have a financial office. I feel that the select board obviously is the ones that are sitting there, and they're the ones that meet and run kind of the town. It would be nice to maybe to do what we did with like the idea of the manager system. Did some studies, formed a committee to look at maybe structures or a way to move forward and see what other towns are doing for their financial offices, and try to get something that obviously will make the auditors, the outside audits, look better, and end the issue of the checks and balances. So I'd like to start that conversation and feel that it needs to be done.
Any other non-binding business? Hearing no further discussion, are we ready to, yes, sir?
I would just like, or Glenn Beatty, I would just like to bring up or address the letter that the fire department put together and put into your annual reports. On the bottom of that, there's a couple addresses. One is a postal address, the other is an email address. We really need feedback from the townspeople, taxpayers, to move forward with this project. And we're anxious to hear from you. I know a lot of people have left for the day, missed this announcement, but anything we can do to find out the will of the taxpayers would help us moving forward.
Wouldn't it be great to have like a community swimming pool that you can draw water from to put out fires?
Yes. Just like fires in the middle of August on a hot day, that might be.
Sure, there'll probably be, have to fill that right to the top. Yes, go right ahead. Yeah.
What kinds of feedback are you looking for?
What kind of feedback are you looking for is the question.
I mean, do you need a certain number of letters? Do you have a petition?
Any feedback right now as far as whether it's positive, negative, otherwise, we are proposing that we will do a feasibility study to build a new station on Taft Meadows, which does have concerns of some people who would rather keep it a field. As we stated in the letter, it was purchased for municipal purposes, which to this date, nothing's been done municipal-wise on that property. And if the taxpayers are willing to go forward with, funding a new station, that's what we need to hear back really from the town.
So a feasibility study will allow the fire department to go to the town and give them some actual numbers on what it's going to cost to build. Is that correct?
Did everybody hear that? Yeah. Okay.
The feasibility study needs to be done in order for the fire department to have a true number of how much it would cost to proceed, correct? Feasibility study needs to be done in order for us to have that dollar amount. So then the townspeople know a range of costs.
He's done. He's done.
That's correct. Yes, a feasibility study was done on a different project, a combined project. Those numbers are no longer relevant. Code changes, a lot of changes have been made that those numbers will not reflect true costs and what it would be or what it would cost the townspeople. So yes, that feasibility study that we would try to get done as soon as possible will give the numbers that we need for the taxpayers.
Yes, Will.
I have a question.
No, it's okay. I got you.
Glenn, I was wondering if you could speak a little bit to the limitations of the current facility and the reasoning behind looking to build a new facility.
Yes. There are also, a lot of the reasons are listed in the letter that we sent out. Some of them are old issues, some of them are new. I will say what really drove us, to this decision to seek a new firehouse for the town is we actually started out with a truck committee, and that's where we found out the cost of a truck to fit in our present station. And these are only today's numbers. These prices on trucks change from, every time you go out to bid. Right now, as I said earlier, it's about $275,000 for a right-off-the-line truck that we have in spec that would not fit in our station. To build a truck custom to fit in our station that we have now, we're looking at about $475,000. So, and obviously those of us on the department are taxpayers as well, and really that's what we need from the town is, to us it doesn't make sense to spend another $200,000+ to fit a truck into the station we have if we could better put that money towards a new building and address all the other issues, namely, there's no ADA compliant access to the building, the septic system, the space in the firehouse right now. I mean, we do trainings, and right now I'm making arrangements to go to Newbrook and use their station to fit the amount of people to be able to train. Like I said, in the letter, I think there's 9 or 10 reasons, but the biggest driver came out of really the truck committee.
And that is the height of the doors?
It's the height of the doors is an issue, but also the height of the ceilings themselves.
As well as the length,
Structural.
Right. And we really can't go up, and even if we did go up with the building, we're still facing the other issues of septic issues, no potable water. Like I said, in the letter, I would encourage it, list all of them. I'm probably liable to miss a couple if I don't read it. So. All right.
that, only 3 bays of that station is on town land, the rest of it is under an easement. And not only that, there's no, you're gonna have a low profile truck, you can't get a high one in that. And that's why Taft Meadow was bought by the select board and the people to build a new fire station out there where they could have one limited space of height and width. And a place to park. The parking lot all belongs to the hospital. The wells are under there, but that is not potable water. There's no place to put a septic system. And that all originally was planned to be out on Taft Meadow.
More discussion?
So this seems like a very
immediate kind of need, what sort of time frame are we talking about to move this forward? I mean, when do you think a feasibility study would be done, and how does this go forward?
It seems like a crisis.
I won't quite put it at the crisis stage, how about that? We have met with the select board, and I believe after they reconvene, now the town meeting's over, we will meet again. We've obtained the funds to do the feasibility study, so we can fund that portion. We would love to get it going this spring. But then we still have to bring back that information to the select board in the town, get it warned, and then to see if it would pass for the loan to actually build the station. So you're still looking at a couple of years. And normally our goal is to replace our frontline engine or pumper every 20 years. We're gonna have to push that probably to 25 if we do the building instead. But in that time, hopefully the money that's going in the reserve account for the new fire engine or pumper will actually be closer to the purchase price than what it is now.
I mean,
No,
Chad.
I'm good. I just, did we do any kind of study back when we were at the town garage and all that? I mean, obviously everything's changed, I just was wondering, did we do some kind of a study at one point as far as what was the town garage, fire department? I mean, did anybody look?
Yeah, 2006.
Yes, a lot of study done.
2006, which means it's quadrupled in price.
That's all.
No, actually, we look back at it, you'd probably be surprised.
No, I was just, yeah. Everything goes up. Any other discussion? Hearing or seeing no other discussion, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Oh, wait,
Just quickly, is there any update on the dollar store? What's going on with that?
Any update on the dollar store? Anybody? I know it's not there.
Yeah, that's all I know.
That's all I know. No? Nobody's heard anything about the dollar store? Keep your dollars in your pocket then. Okay, any other discussion? Motion to adjourn? So moved. Second. Okay. We'll see you next year. Thank you for putting up with me. Have a great year. We are now adjourned.